is everybody ready?
Yep.
Alright, so we're recording. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. Everyone welcome, and please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, I do need, I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to announcements. I just want to find my notes. Remind everyone that these board meetings are business meetings that are held in public, and they are not public board meetings. The board is governed by Idaho Code Title 74 and Title 33, Chapter 5, Idaho Administrative Procedures Act, or IDAPA, and we do follow the district policies. All public input will be civil and respectful. Please address the board, not the audience, and address issues and not persons, and you will be allowed 3 minutes for input during public input. Moving on to public input. Do we have anybody else over there that signed in to chat? Do you know? No? Perfect, thank you. So we have Anita Dupsik.
Good evening, Chair Thompson, Superintendent Arnold, and board members. Action item I.1, the board is being asked to approve all items on this month's supplemental curriculum list. I'd like to express my concern with the number of websites being requested. A particular concern is the essay grader, which uses AI to assist in grading students' essays. Anything using AI should be a red flag, since there are no guardrails around the data used to train the program to give feedback on students' essays. Diverse text data, books, articles, websites. Is 10 minutes per essay the time the website estimates it takes a teacher to grade an essay per student too much for a teacher to give to a student's essay when the student took who knows how much time to write it? 30 seconds from a website instead? The program includes an AI detector to determine if AI was used to create the essay. Is that hypocritical? Lakeland students deserve their teachers' attention where grading is concerned, not computer-generated assessment. The Grammarly.com website provides an AI partner to help students choose words as they compose text. Can you see how easily AI is being integrated into our lives? Do we want this for our students? Rather than teaching them to use tools such as a dictionary that trains them to think for themselves. And on the one hand, we're recommending a website with a tool to detect AI-written papers. On the other hand, we're recommending a website to help students use AI to write a paper. I don't get it. The CDA Press is being requested with no indication of how it will be used. If it's for local news, where is the balance to its liberal viewpoint? Perhaps People's Pen or Kootenai Journal, both local papers, should also be considered. Many of these websites are fluid in nature, so approval of one now doesn't necessarily mean concerning information won't be provided at a later date. We say we have concerns about how much screen time kids have. Yet Lakeland is encouraging even more with the approval of more than 15 websites. And then item G.1, regarding having everything Lakeland puts in front of students reviewed by a committee. Yes, it's cumbersome and unfortunately not timely. But we've seen a couple of instances this past year, one at Athol and one at Twin, that caused concern amongst parents and resulted in Lakeland's leadership being questioned by parents and teachers. Our culture today is harmful in many ways to children, and while Lakeland staff may not have the intent to expose students to something that may be found objectionable to students or parents, we can no longer assume the same from outside sources. This review by committee and recommendation by the board takes the burden off staff of deciding what may or may not be appropriate and puts it where it belongs, on the board. I'm confident the strong teachers employed by Lakeland are able to navigate teaching classrooms of students with different learning levels and do it well. I've witnessed it firsthand in classrooms as I've observed new curriculum being assessed. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no other additional speakers. All right, perfect. Moving on to reports. First, we have the financial report. Does anyone have any questions, comments, points of discussion on the financial report that was presented?
Just double checking.
It's fine, I don't run a finger race.
You know, just making sure I didn't have any notations on the over on the side. Or
Yeah, no, I hear you.
nope, I'm good.
You're good. Anyone else? No? Okay.
Chair Thompson.
Yep.
I would like to bring the June 30th period one more time at the August meeting, and I'll also have the July financials for 24-25 at that time. I just want to point out there are some adjustments that are still being made as we close the year, so I do want to bring it back to you guys one more time. Right now the general fund shows a negative balance, and that's just because we're waiting on additional revenue.
Okay.
So I do want to bring that forward for the public to see that we did not end the year in a negative.
Okay. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
You should probably repeat that. I know that she cannot be heard on the video.
Oh.
So maybe somebody wants to reiterate that the reason we have show a negative balance is because we're waiting on,
Funding.
what was that you said we're waiting on? Sorry.
I didn't realize I couldn't be heard.
Yeah, they have a hard time picking everybody up except
Yeah.
for us that are right here.
Okay, so the reason I would like to bring the financials back in August is right now our general fund shows that we have a negative fund balance. That will not be the case as we continue to close out the fiscal year. We're waiting some additional revenue. Property taxes is a huge amount. We're anticipating about 4.5 million this month. And then we have the additional state revenue that's coming in. So once we have those things in, I'd like to bring our financials back one more time that shows the end of June, just so that it shows all those accruals of the revenue and the additional expenses that are still coming through that are for that fiscal year, to show that we're not ending the year in the hole.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the previous meeting.
I do have a couple things on that.
Okay.
It says that there were, for the minutes of the previous meeting, it says there were no comments or questions, which is not accurate. There was a comment. I asked that the public comments from the previous meeting be added to the minutes.
Okay.
So that should be stated. And did that happen?
Yes.
Has it been? Okay.
Yeah, if you scroll through the minutes, you'll see that the comments are attached. There was
Right, on this one, but
Right.
but they weren't the last time, and I asked that they would be added, so I just wanted to confirm that they
Oh, gotcha.
were added.
So were they added to the prior meetings minutes? Okay.
Yes.
Just for clarification.
Yes. Also, on item IF, Assistant Principal Hegsted's name is spelled incorrectly. On item I9, what projects were approved? This should specify which projects were approved, because it just says held discussion with Facilities Director Ferriola and CFO Grantham. Trustee Jones made a motion to approve, but it doesn't say what was approved, what projects were approved, what was approved. It doesn't say what that discussion was regarding. And then the final one is item N. Ms. Free's last name is spelled incorrectly.
She needs an E.
No, it's IIS, not ISS. Okay.
additional? No, that's it, okay. And we also have the minutes of the subcommittee meetings. Are there any comments or questions? Those meeting minutes will be accepted, not approved. Any comments? Okay, any comments on the HR items presented?
Yes.
Okay.
I just noticed that their resignation, we had, several paras and a sped teacher. I just want to know when and how we're filling those positions. Are we running ads or, so they'll all be replaced then?
Yes.
Those were the only questions I had for
Okay. Anyone else have any questions on the HR items?
Oh.
Let's take a moment and pause the meeting so that we can correct the
Technical difficulty.
okay, so we took a break from 6:11, it is now 6:14, and we are going to go back on the record here for our meeting. We are up to the regular and special bills. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, what are the water inspections for TLE, Garwood, and LHS for?
I believe they're the backflow testing that's required.
Sprinklers. Okay.
We also do water quality testing annually.
Oh, okay, yeah, cause there's backflow testing on here from somebody else.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that.
It's the monthly, we do a monthly test, yes. Water quality.
Oh, it's not there, okay.
I don't remember ever seeing this on here.
I thought it was annual.
We have been paying, well, let's see, here with me. We've paid Tomorrow H2O pretty consistently from last August, September, October, November, December, 3 June.
Yeah, I know
They're different.
I've seen Tomorrow on their H2O regularly, but I don't know that it's been for water inspections. And are we required to do monthly water inspections at each school?
I will talk with our facilities director and get some more information for you on that.
Okay, because I would think the water inspection is supposed to come from the provider of the water, not the people using it.
We had a larger amount in March, it looks like, for some repairs as well at
Okay.
Garwood and Lakeland High School. But I will ask our facilities director about that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, discussions on the bills that have gone through?
Yes.
Perfect.
Can we get numbers on the, page numbers on the bottom of these when they are so long, just cause it's easier to reference? So, on the third page in the Ednetics, licensing, 5-year, can somebody remind me about the phones? I thought we just did it, and then we did it, and now we're doing
So
it again.
those are not the phones. If you'll remember, I think back in January, February, I brought for the wireless access points.
Right, well, it says phone service and access point licensing.
So a good chunk of that is the wireless access points, and then the 5-year licenses for the points.
Those points,
Yes.
okay.
That's the one we're getting about $156,000 from E-rate to
Yeah.
help reimburse the cost of that
Okay.
project.
Trustee Grissom, on the breakout little sheet that we have, it does show that the access points are $254,250.99 based on E-rate, and then the phone service is $7,222.68.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that on there, although I just breezed through it. So, okay, so my other one is, and I guess it's probably the same thing, the next page, 1,099 Dell 3110 Chromebooks, $427,511. Those are in addition to.
They're part of the replacement schedule.
Okay.
For Chromebooks, those are all coming out of the state technology fund, so they're not coming out of general funds.
Okay, so it's basically a reimbursement and it's just a flow through, like it's not costing us anything?
Right, we
or-
receive state technology funds directly from the state based on
Right.
our enrollment, and so those funds are in a separate fund. All of the bills, regardless of what fund they are paid out of, come on this sheet for you. So that's
Right, I
out of Fund
understand that.
245.
My thought process is that this is like the third 1,000+ Chromebooks we've bought since I've been on the board. This is double what we paid last time. Last time was 255,000. So can you give us like the last 5 years, how many of these I mean, we only have so many students. And we just bought 2,000 during COVID, which put a Chromebook in every student's hand in the district. So I was confused when I saw this, and especially the cost price too. So if you can at least give us the history on that, because it just seems like an excessive amount, or something maybe didn't go through when we thought it was, or something happened. And then the other thing is the final site web hosting, that's for the district site, correct?
Yes.
All right, and then the front line, that's the same, I know it's the same software company that we use, like Applitrack and all of them, okay. You know, they have many offerings too there. And then my other one, the Skyward, that licensing, is that an annual licensing for that? Okay. And I think, no, and now I had a question, page 6, which is a breakout from, let's see, where is this? It is, it's the invoice reporting.
Is it the BMO?
Yeah, this is Ed Puzzle. I don't remember, it's an online subscription, social studies, Ed Puzzle. I don't ever remember.
That was approved by the board several years
What is
ago.
it? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I know that Timberlake High School uses
Okay.
it.
And then there was something else which I thought, well, it probably stands for something. It's on page 1013. Or I'm sorry, it's on page 10 of 13. Yes, 10 of 13. And it was a concurrent user subscription for Jackrabbit.
That's what we use current, that subscription is going away. We're replacing Jackrabbit, that's our base, software for payments. We're replacing it with My School Bucks. So Jackrabbit will fall off, as we fully implement My School Bucks instead for base payments.
Okay. So how many pieces of software do we have in the district to process payments?
We have InTouch and we have Jackrabbit, and we have My School Bucks. We're doing away with Jackrabbit, so we'll just have InTouch and My School Bucks.
Okay, all right. And there was another one, maybe I didn't know if it was an acronym for something. It was like Rodeo or Road EO or something like
It's
that.
the bus rodeo.
Oh, okay, is that what it is? Okay.
Yep.
Yep, I don't know where it went. I must have taken the highlight off of it, I guess.
And are you familiar with that, Trustee Grissom?
No, I didn't know I figured it stood for something.
So our bus drivers are able to participate in a regional competition.
Oh, yes,
Yep.
I remember
So
now,
our
yes.
bus driver actually won and for
Oh,
our
yay.
region, and they took first at state, and they went to nationals and took second at
Oh,
nationals. So
really?
they did
Mhm.
fantastic.
Oh, wow, cool.
Super excited. There's a social media post about our bus driver who did all the cool things.
Yeah, nice, okay. Well, I figured it was something like that, you know, I thought for
A
sure.
little play on words.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that was all.
Do they get to do any seminars or like strategical bus driving courses during that during those competitions? Do we know how they
Yeah.
kind of work? Okay.
Yeah, they do a lot of safety stuff and,
Okay.
yeah, cones and all sorts, yeah.
Don't hit the pedestrian.
Right.
That's a good one.
On page 10 of 13, there's 3 different charges for airfare and registration. It doesn't say for who, for what. Most of the other ones do say when it's airfare, who it was for, or what conference maybe they went to. But this particular one wasn't. So could we just make sure that we're giving a little more detail on those? Because I know this is straight out of Skyward. So I just wanted to just say, hey, could we make sure that we're getting more information?
Based on the fund that it's coming out of, which is 243, that was career technical education. I know several of our teachers at the end of the year did attend CTE specific trainings, but I will make sure we have better descriptions in there.
So does their travel come out of CTE funds then
Yes.
too?
Yep. You'll see that the coding on there was 243E. So
Okay.
243 is the CTE fund.
And then when Mr. Pettit went to the Skills USA Nationals, did that also come out of CTE funds?
His travel could, but the students could not. But I'll double check on that
Okay.
for nationals. I know his state one could, but I'll double check on nationals.
Okay.
Can we make a quick bounce real quick back to the monthly financial reports? Can you please provide a breakout for the last 5 years of Chromebook damage? Because I'm showing Lakeland High Schools for this year, their Chromebook damage was $14,261, and nobody else kind of touched that, and I don't understand why it's that significant. So I'd kind of like to see if there's a trend within the schools or over the last 5 years. That's a significant amount of damage.
And you're speaking specifically to the SBA.
Chromebook damage.
I believe those are fees that are collected.
Right.
So I will definitely pull reports for that. Some
Okay.
of our schools automatically cut a check to the district office, and that kind of sits in a central fund. It could be that Lakeland hasn't cut us a check this year, and that's why there's so much sitting there. So I will definitely pull that detail for you, and get that history for you.
So what you might be seeing is each year at the high school, parents can opt to pay $20
Right.
insurance. And I think that's what Jessica is thinking the dollar amount is that you're looking at that's not actual damages, that's the pot where that insurance money goes to help offset it. So she'll bring you all of that.
That's 700 students at $20. And I'm sure there's been damages, because obviously we have damages every year, but I will definitely get a report for you
Well,
with the breakdown.
it just shows, there's like Twin or Garwood, one of them was at 683, and to me, it's a significant amount of damage.
We do receive checks throughout the year from our schools. It just depends on when the school sends it to us. Some send them as soon as at the end of the month, some send them quarterly, some send them biannually. So I like I said, I'll double check and make sure to show all the ins and outs for you
We can show the revenues
and the expense.
and the expenses.
That would be good, and if I could have that over a 5-year span, that would be great. Going back to the bills list.
You guys are giving me a lot of homework tonight.
Well, I meant to do it then, but my highlighter thing didn't work, so I forgot. But when Trustee Grissom mentioned the Chromebooks, I'm like, that was it. So, yeah. Any other questions on the bills
Can I
list?
get a clarification on Jimmy's roofing bill? It says Lakeland High School roof repair annual service agreement, LJSD. I'm trying to figure out, do we have an annual service agreement with them? Is that a signed contract?
It's about $1,200 per school, because they did all of the work on the schools. That's kind of our warranty.
Right.
So yes, we do. I wouldn't say it is an annual agreement, but it's per school.
So is this amount for the service agreement or for actual repairs? It's not clear from the billing.
Was that the the 3,849.
Well, there's two charges
38,
that we paid Jimmy's on this bills list.
38.49.
So the I will pull more information on that. All I'm seeing in the system is just roof repairs district-wide, so I can get the invoice specifically to that 3849.
So we pay for the service agreement at the rate of so much per school. And then we get billed for actual repairs beyond that.
I will double check.
Yeah, cause we do have a $1,089 charge for LHS roof repair, and then we also have it down an LHS roof repair, for $38.49 included with the service agreement for LMS and JBE. So that doesn't make sense. Thank you. Any additional questions?
Nope.
Well, if there's no further questions, comments, or discussion, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to old business, we do have the superintendent follow-up. So it does seem a little odd that we would be paying $13.50 more a day to house buses. That would save us 110 miles a day. But that's the information we've been provided with.
She will be at the board meeting in August, so we can put that agenda item on there so she can answer any questions that the board might have about that.
Okay.
The only comment that I have at this juncture about that is her calculations are based solely on fuel savings. But in actuality, you have other things involved, including depreciation, tires, oil changes,
Maintenance.
maintenance costs. So I'm not sure what the actual reflection is, what I'm suggesting.
If you had a bus up there too, then when they go to sporting events, they wouldn't have to leave from here, go get them, come back here, then go get them at the thing, then take them back there, and then come back here. And that's pretty much every day during the sports season, isn't it? Some kind of sports going on.
Well, hopefully in August, Jessica will have had the opportunity to kind of expound on.
Yes, and I will bring the comments that John's what you just shared.
Yeah.
Thank you. At this time.
So it does look like we might be able to use the City of Rathrumm's board, or council chamber boarding room if we would want to. But we
7
couldn't-
additional seats.
Well, actually,
Right, I
actually,
know.
that's not, that was the number Leon gave me, but we met there today, and they have a sign on the wall that says maximum occupancy 100. And so I asked about that, and that's 100 if everybody's standing. You can comfortably sit 40, in there. You could have more than 40 seated,
People
and the
are
way
willing to
that it's,
stand.
and then the way that it's, situated is you have the board across the front and then the staff on the side, so it would take our staff people out of the seats that option is we could use any of our school facilities, and Chad has provided, kind of a cost for, having a mobile kind of camera, microphone system. If we wanted to just use, one of our facilities, we just would have to get on the books so that, we're not competing with something else.
Well, and I do believe we need to make the investment for mobile equipment because we have been asking for years to upgrade, to get better, and prior administration was all about the lowest possible amount that could be spent. And I think given what we do and trying to be as transparent and making sure everyone can be heard.
Don't they have all this stuff at the high school already?
Well,
They have a
but we are-
podcast for YouTube and everything.
And
Already there.
I hear you
Cameras,
on that.
everything.
I hear you on that, but we are limited with the high school because of how active the building is. I mean, they
Yeah.
could secure us once a month, but if we have to hold something on a different day or another week or whatnot, they may not be able to accommodate us. So then we would need to go somewhere else. Personally, I think we need to be at the middle school, but so I mean, it is. I know that was one thing I thought was, they do the Hawk TV thingy. They've got their YouTube whatnot, so it would seem reasonable that we should be able to utilize that equipment. But even if we don't move anywhere and we stay here, we should have better microphones and apparently a better camera that doesn't fall off the wall. So we do need to consider the direction we want to do, what we want to do with the equipment, is all I'm trying to say in a lot of words, so.
A couple of questions. I know we got some information at one point from Fire Marshal about how many people we can have seated out there. Is that based on the configuration that we have in the room right now? Because we're taking up a lot of space here.
We have a certificate of occupancy for 36 in this room.
But it is based on this setup and part of the 36 is this group, but it is based on this.
This configuration. Because, years gone by, the board kind of was from that lean back
Okay.
and left more room for seating here. So we might want to think about, the configuration in the room here and what we can do to maybe accommodate, a few more, even 10 more people would make a big difference.
Well, if we're allowed to just do a flat panel and then we can all bob each other and see
We can ask the fire marshal to come and look at that and see if.
how much more that would free up, yeah.
Lisa, you probably remember, we used to have that big conference table, and that basically was the board seating.
Yeah.
With a little additional for staff.
The previous superintendent got rid of that conference table.
Sad day. That's been here for a while.
It was here a long time.
Well, maybe we need to see if we can set it up in some fashion to where, like Bob says, we're all on this side, meaning us. And then how many spots would that open up on that side? Which, I mean, I still think it's not gonna be enough, but I also don't think City Hall will be enough when we have
We could
a
get
contested topic.
Number that they have probably with the reconfiguration here.
But at least
The
it
other
would be
problem I
better.
see downtown, and I suggested that originally, but parking is an issue down there.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
big time.
Yep.
It's horrid. At least here we can keep going. We've got nooks and crannies.
Yeah, we've got
People
the
can
John
park.
Brown, we've got the extra one across
Yeah.
the street.
Go down that street.
Mhm.
All on the football field unless it's football season. Yeah. If there's a way we can expand this and make it bigger, then maybe we need to look at that. Okay. But we still need better equipment.
Yeah, and I have no problem,
So.
equipment.
Yeah, one of the things that Chad gave us a quote on is, and I don't remember which which trustee requested it, but individual microphones, so that when the 5 of you speak, the
Yeah.
recording picks up the voices so people can hear the conversation more clearly.
It should be us, you, well, it should be all of us, because you're supposed to keep us on track. So if you need to let us know, your voice should be captured, and then we
Yeah.
should have one for the podium.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's 6, 8.
You know, the other issue, I guess, is, and I don't know from an audience standpoint, how well you folks can hear the conversation up here at times, whether or not that's okay, or whether we need to look at a system that
And
actually
Projects.
gives us some projection as well, as long as
Right.
we're updating equipment.
That's a great idea. That's not something Chad's ever given us.
A microphone for the podium, for
Yeah.
speakers, you can't hear them on the video.
No, Bob's talking about being able to project out to the audience better.
I understand, but I'm saying, given that someone commented earlier that the speakers couldn't be heard, perhaps a separate microphone is needed.
Yeah, we
That's
just
what we
said
were
that.
talking
Yep,
about.
we said
yeah,
that too.
is making sure we got one for that podium as well, or a maybe we could get like a legit podium.
I bet you we could have, Timberlake High School shop.
No, anybody could probably build this
for
one.
us.
That would be awesome.
Be nice.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked legit. Okay, so if you want to make a note, Maria, for the next board meeting to put on there possibly an action item for board equipment, because we should be able to have a little bit more information such as podium, table, and how much room we can grow if we do whatever we do. Okay, and then the Fire Smart, no grant money. Going to send a forester to walk with Mike on the property. Okay. Trustee Quibby, didn't you, go out to that property over by Mountain View? What was your perspective of that property?
Nice and clean.
Okay.
I don't know where they're getting the information.
Okay.
There was no homeless camps. I didn't see any drugs or anything.
Okay.
Just some dead trees.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could clear up some brush, but it's not bad.
But mostly, yeah, it's mostly just trees and a little bit of down tree stuff.
Yeah. Just a couple piles that probably need to be burned off, but nothing major. But I'm pretty sure did you tell me you're supposed to direct, put no trespassing signs on there?
Yep, that's
I
part.
don't think it's been done.
Yeah, it hasn't been done yet. We're waiting for the forester to get up with Mike, and Mike's gonna walk it with him, and they're gonna kind of talk about all of those things, so. We haven't heard back from the forester, so.
I don't
But no
think we
tres-
should be waiting. So.
Yeah, no trespassing signs shouldn't
Have any effect on the forester dude.
Okay. Sure those go up.
Perfect. And do you still not have a response from Chad on the volunteer
He actually
coach?
emailed me, yesterday afternoon. Yeah, yesterday afternoon, might have been this morning. He said there is no additional liability for the district to have, as long as they are fingerprinted and go through all the same processes that our paid coaches
Okay,
go through.
that's good to hear.
Yep. I have not walked that property behind Mountain View. Are there particular places that you feel the, no trespassing signs should go?
Yeah, probably. There's a road right behind the jail. Right next to the jail.
Right, yeah.
There's like a-
Going in from-
By Ponceness Warren.
Huh?
Also over by, Furniture Doctors.
Yeah, by Ponceness, between Ponceness Warren and
Yeah.
Furniture Doctors, that
There's some
street would
trails.
be the most likely spot we would need. Cause I don't think people are going in from that side, are they?
I don't know.
Well, it's actually-
From the
trail
school
that
side
goes
is what I'm saying. People
Yeah.
aren't going in from that side, they're.
Yeah, I think they are.
You think so?
I think they're just going back and forth.
Yeah.
Shortcut.
Well, yeah.
But
definitely put him on like ours property line right there.
What's his name? I walked it with, John Hatcher,
Okay.
and he said there hasn't, he goes, I bet you can go back in the police records and there hasn't been anything for 10 years back there. Anything, police calls or anything.
As far as reports.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on the superintendent follow-up? Okay. The financial follow-up, there was no follow-up, but we do have updated, standing requested information. Do we have any comments or questions, discussion on those documents that were provided?
I just have one little comment on the, when we have the little charts, give you an example, on the approved projects sheet, like, can we have titles on these, what information is being represented on the chart? Like,
Oh, at the
just-
top of the sheet.
Yeah, but so on that one, but I think it's the Board of Education detail is the one yeah. On the, which one was it?
Can I interject for just a second? Can we stop having links and have them PDFs scanned so that we can make our comments on the document? Because we cannot do that. We have to keep bouncing around.
So trustee, can't
Thompson.
read tonight. I'm so sorry.
It's all
Trustee
good.
Mayor Thompson. I'm
Oh, I think
drunk.
I have
It's been
someone-
I know, it's right on my face. I'm so sorry. I did make them all PDFs this month, and
Okay.
there's links on the first document that the PDFs were included, in the, if you
Scroll down, they're there.
on the financial follow-up in the board book.
Oh,
So they're links, but
Okay.
they're also linked in as, PDFs as well.
alright.
Okay. I didn't notice that.
I did not.
But I was wrong.
Okay.
It is actually the plant facilities levy tracking.
Okay,
Those pages, there's a different chart on each page, and you have to kind of really read it to figure out what is being presented.
yep, I can put titles on those, no
That'd be
problem.
awesome.
Well, that is very nice that they're down there.
Yes.
Didn't know it. Because there's links.
So
so
I made sure that they were all PDFs this month.
Okay, thank
They're
you.
a little tricky sometimes with those financial spreadsheets. I've had to play with my formatting a little bit.
Bless.
Our board clerk did a really good job of making sure that those all ended up like that, so.
Thank you, board clerk.
We're on the financial follow-up, right?
Yes.
It says Mountain View High School door replacements.
Yes, trustee Quigley, those were approved at the last meeting.
Well, there's some nice doors at Athol and Spirit Lake that are getting tore out and thrown away. Just an idea.
I thought that the doors that we were taking out of the schools were not, as functional as they should be. Cause I don't think we changed out all of the doors. I think we changed out the ones that needed to be changed out, but I can
think
follow
they're-
up and
I
ask
think
that
they're-
question.
Pulling most of the doors out of there.
So there must be an issue with them.
They said they weren't changing all the windows because the aluminum windows are good, the steel windows are bad.
Right, but I will check on the doors because I thought that the doors was the
I don't
same
know,
issue.
there might be something.
Lisa, from what I understand of the doors, those were Mark Feddersen, those were a safety issue because the hinges were on the outside.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you,
I
Brooke.
just have to ask somebody to know, so.
Yeah.
And it states on here, there's no page number, but I think it's I don't know. But it states that, originally budgeted for 700,000, moved to fiscal year 25 for John Brown siding. To my knowledge, that hasn't been, this is absolutely what we're doing, because when John Brown was bought, then it was bring the district office in. I'd say for the last 3 or 4 board meetings, I keep bringing it up, and yet we keep pushing forward. And it's just really bothersome to me that this board has not voted to approve John Brown for siding replacement yet. It's out there, but we also have other things, and you and I had a heated discussion because you desperately want that done and I desperately want concrete repaired. And
Concrete's been improved.
It's not on
there's
the list.
nothing being done about the concrete, so it's still, everything's still out in limbo land, and it's very frustrating. So
Concrete was underway.
so did I, but I was told no.
Our facility director is working on getting quotes for the concrete, and so that's where we are with that.
So it's moving forward.
We're working on quotes, yes.
And how many months has that been?
5
A
years.
year?
It's been a while.
That's a long time. We're already almost done with our warm weather.
I know, and yeah, my goal, and I stated it probably loudly, that I wanted it done before the new school year started, and we're still waiting. So I just wanted to bring that back out again. That's all.
What would you like to do about it?
I want to get a concrete truck and pour concrete. I feel like we get stuck in these habits, or patterns maybe is the better word, where we're just pushing the ball down the field, but yet we're still going, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute, hold on. And what someone wants to do, we're off in that direction. And I mean, I know we've spoken repeatedly about this, but here it is on a document as if this board said, yes, we are moving forward with John Brown, when we haven't fully said that yet, because the district office got lumped in with John Brown, and then we pushed forward with getting RFQs, and then we had to only go with one when we should have actually had the 2, so that we could see what is the better financial
We
perspective.
didn't go with anybody.
Well,
We
I
said
know
we tabled it
right
until we
did.
had, and we still don't have, here we are another month, and we don't
Right,
have
right.
anything this month
I
on
did.
that same thing.
Have
Right.
that ready for this meeting. It was asked to be moved to the facilities work session next week.
Okay. So, I know the superintendent and I did have a conversation at agenda planning that there seems to be kind of a breakdown in communication with facilities and the board, in the sense that the board says, let's, or we do these workshops, but then it's never brought back to us for approval. So then it's well, you've never approved it, but it never got brought back forward because it keeps getting pushed off and waiting on somebody else's desk. So there's, going forward, we're not gonna have, hopefully, that delay, in the sense that, like, we're gonna hold a facilities workshop, we'll have action that can be taken if we're able to take action. If not, then it can be brought to the next meeting to take action.
Now we're two more meetings away from getting anything done.
Correct,
Mhm.
correct.
Isn't that the problem you just described?
Yeah, it's a repeated pattern that we seem to constantly be struggling with. So,
Whenever you're ready, Madam Chairman, I'll be happy to make a motion that we move forward with the reciting of John Brown Elementary.
well, I hear you.
I don't wanna do that project yet. I don't think that we have the money to do it.
Well, I'm not saying we have the money to do it now. It's being,
Right, but
The
I hear you,
concrete
Rob.
needs to be done
so
because it's a
let's
liability.
talk about, priorities. We managed to get middle school done. We managed to get Apple done and Spirit Lake done. Why suddenly is John Brown the second-class citizen?
I don't think anybody believes
Well,
or
they're not,
thinks
but it took us
that's
4
a
years to
second.
get Athol and Spirit Lake done.
I
And then
agree, I
junior high
understand.
took just as long.
I remember distinct conversations about how we talk about things and nothing ever happens. And I'm ready to have something happen.
I hear you, so am I, but we have no bids, but yet.
Bob cannot do bids.
I hear you, we always have things thrown at us, that's my term, and then it's like, wait a minute, we have to look at the money, because we were supposed to go in this direction, and now we're over here, and we keep wavering back and forth. The John Brown issue is being pushed down the field, but we have never voted and said, yes, we are going to re-side John Brown. I keep bringing that up because it keeps showing up that it appears that we are going in that direction, that we have approved that, and we have not.
I think we all understand it's not been approved.
Whether or not we understand it, it states as on these documents as if we have approved it. And that bothers me.
So you want to take it off the document?
That'd be amazing. Because then I would have to quit bringing it up that it's not been approved.
So then we don't get to talk about it anymore at all.
Not until the facilities workshop.
Well,
I
I'm
apologize,
not-
trustee Thompson, that was on there from our facilities workshop last summer when we did have that included in the proposed budget.
That's right.
So that's where that's coming from.
That's right.
All I'm saying about the concrete, I took my hammer there the other day. There was a piece of concrete so sharp, and it's been that way for like 5 years, that if anybody fell on that, it would cut him wide open. And I watched my dad fall at a game, and if he would have put his hand back there and fell, he would have been cut wide open. And if that happens to anybody,
It's a lawsuit.
yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I know, I'm just saying, that needs to be done.
And
I agree.
and CFO Grantham has recently had that conversation with the director that we need the code, so we have to get moving. So I made myself
With
out, I will
So as you
follow
can
up.
relay the messages, the board expects that information
Yes,
at the,
I have
At
relayed
the
that.
at the
facilities.
workshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
My frustration with the John Brown siding project is that it was proposed, we said no, and it just keeps popping up. That, we said no. And it just keeps showing up. That's what I don't understand.
It was on the original proposed one to move forward, and then I think partway through the year it was taken off, which is why it's staying on there from a historical standpoint. It was
We never-
back at our plant facilities workshop last summer. It was one of the projects that was put on the proposed budget.
But we never took action.
We never took action on it, but it was on the project list for the proposed budget from July of last year.
Well, maybe we should,
I can bring the historical document to the work session from
Well,
last summer, just so we have
I
that
think there's a
history.
difference between planning ahead and approving a project. You know, you can plan a year ahead, or 2 years ahead, or 3 years ahead.
correct.
So that we can see what's coming down the line, and then each of those projects can be approved if and when it's appropriate to do so. But, you know, that's all I see happening here.
And actually at the facilities session, and I think when Chair Thompson and I were talking at agenda planning, instead of calling it a workshop, I think we're gonna call it a work session.
Yeah.
And then we will make sure there's opportunity for action, but with the modernization fund, facilities fund that the state passed during the last legislative session, we have to provide to the state a 10-year plan, which the board's gonna have to help us write.
I
But-
agree. I said we have to have a plan 10 years ahead and have all that stuff listed, we'll have like people all over. the place.
We actually, Mike has a lot of the information already, and then the board had asked for a separate entity to do the building condition, which we've done. So we have all that information. We have to put it into there's a platform that the state is using.
Are you talking about us doing an assessment of the buildings?
Mhm.
That's in statute. That's not something you want to do. It's
Yeah,
required by
that's the
statute
law.
that we have a private entity do it or a third party.
Right. Which we did, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so, anyway, those, and we have to put in, when was the roof done? And we have to do it actually by sections if we have buildings that have been added onto, so for each edition. Which creates, kind of our priorities, so siding is one, but, there will be about $18 million that Lakeland will get. And so based on this work that we do, we'll be able to prioritize these kinds of things, so.
Perfect.
It does have some additional constraints that weren't originally in place. The projects done with this money have to last more than 7 years, so they have to be a capital project. It's not like traditional plant facility funds where we can use it for something that'll last a year or longer. It's a full-on, because the state is bonding for this money, we're held to, it has to be a capital asset that'll last more than 7 years. originally
That's
expected.
a new wrinkle.
Yes,
Concrete will last more than 7 years.
hopefully, yes.
Well, I mean, the only
If you take
guarantee
care of
you
it.
get with concrete is it gets hard and it cracks. I mean, that's it, yeah. But it will last more than 7 years.
And
And
parking
siding
lots,
and-
playgrounds, those are all
Yeah.
systems that we get to address with these dollars, so.
That'd be
Where's
great.
the clarification on that?
And they said,
I know.
they specifically said it, so. Take them at their word. So we will have, a quote, 3 quotes hopefully for you for concrete at the facilities work session on Thursday next week.
Perfect.
And does he remember, what schools that were being addressed in there?
Lakeland High School was the top one.
Lakeland High School, John Brown, and I believe, was it Garwood?
I believe so.
Yeah, they're already working on, Spirit or Twin, I forget which one.
Twin Lakes, and that wasn't a concrete issue, that
That
was
was an
that was an
ADA
ADA compliance issue.
But we had it at preschool too.
Yes, so that one's been repaired already at Twin.
Perfect. Any other questions on the financial follow-up?
We beat that horse to death.
Well,
We had good conversation.
it was good conversation. Let's move on to new business action items. First up is the supplemental curriculum.
Assistant Superintendent Padley. Lynn Padley.
Thank you.
You don't have to yell at us.
Keep it down, keep it
I'm
down.
not a yeller.
Just speak up.
I just wanna point out that in our old format, there were 2 comments that I missed. They were added later, on the grid, and I didn't transfer them over, so there's 2 additional comments that, for each thing. You guys have access to it, you can see it, but they're not in both forms, so just wanted to point that out. When I pulled it up on Monday, I realized that people had gone in over the break and I didn't see it. So it's just the bottom 2 in the spreadsheet.
Okay, on the spreadsheet. Okay.
The spreadsheet's just not super easy to read, especially when you have to go all the way over.
As was pointed out in public comment, I know I've brought it up before about, just randomly bringing a website. Why is it not on topic of what it is that, from that website that the teacher wants to use? Cause it is challenging just to say, sure, use this website, when you don't know how it's being used, why it's being used, what's the content, the educational content that's gonna be applied.
So I asked that question and they just want access to current events and some of those pieces, and then if there's specific standards where they have to, if they're talking about, the Civil War, if they're talking about a specific event, they want one more place that they can access for articles, so it's specific to, it's not just one thing. Obviously, we have resolutions and policies against certain things that they recognize are on those sites. They won't use that, but it's to current events or standards-based discussions that they're required to talk about. But it would be different depending on what grade band you're in, and so, it definitely is, they recognize to be selective of, there's just about historical events they wanna chat about and staying away from some of the more modernized, I guess, concepts that are included in some of those, so, which is why they have a slew, because they wanna be able to pull from different places. if they feel like one actually has a slant or something. So, but then a specific event, it could be a really great article that is just neutral. So they wanted to have a plethora of sites to pull from so they could get the most neutral approach. Current events is just hard for social studies,
Right.
which is why you see so many. It's not as if kids are going to be on these sites, and it's really for the teachers mostly. Not that kids wouldn't access some of it, but it would be an article from here, but really selective articles.
Okay.
I just couldn't list all of them because it might not be, it could be a different topic depending on what band you're in.
Okay.
Move to approve the recommended list.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Question,
Aye.
can I ask a question?
You may.
Anita, where was that AI stuff at?
So it's the essay reader, and then there's one called Grammarly. Right, essay grader, and then, one called Grammarly. So one is the teacher used, and then one is the student used, website.
Are they on this right here?
They are on this list. Grammarly would be hard, and again, this is a teacher's effort to be really transparent. Lots of kids use Grammarly because it's on their own independent devices. And so they were trying to be really transparent about, you can download it on your platform, and so kids will go home and write their essays and use Grammarly. And so it's the idea of, we could take the approach of no AI, kids are definitely using it, so this is a way to control some of that. But kids are definitely using Grammarly, and we have parents that are, definitely in support of it, and some that don't want it. But it can be down to, you can download it to your email to help you with wordsmithing your email. So that one, again, this was an effort, kids are using it, so teachers wanted to be really transparent about that, but we would not be able to totally control it, because if it's on their own computer, on their own device, they're using it. So we just put it on here so you were aware of it. We're not paying for additional services for Grammarly, but I'm sure kids are, because there's premiums and all kinds of, there's a free version too, but
So I called for a vote. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Nay.
Are there items on there specifically that you're, instead of,
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
2 in favor, 3 against, motion fails. Is there another motion that would like to be brought forward?
I'll move to approve everything except that anything that's attached to AI for the kids.
I don't know how you can define that, Dave.
So you're
Well, they
saying,
use our computers, don't they? You know what they're logging in on with our computers? What are they called? MacBooks? Or
Chromebooks.
Yeah.
so the essay, everything but the essay grader and Grammarly, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So we have a motion on the table.
So just taking off those two. I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. 2 in favor, 3 opposed. Motion fails. Is there any other motion that would like to be brought forward?
I guess I have a little bit of explanation. So the Grammarly from like, assistant superintendent said, they do use it, right? I mean, I use it. Here's my concern with both Grammarly in the hands of a student and also the essay grader. What they don't understand is the person programming, the coder who's writing it, what they're being graded on, outside of tense and mood and all those, and who the audience is they're writing to, all those things. The main focus of AI in software nowadays, one of the main focuses is to make sure that they stay within the DEI B, now we have a B, I forget what the B is, constraints. So not only are they grading them on grammar and did they spell it, did they have a comma or period or whatever, but they're also grading them on whether they spoke properly and used the proper wording. In other words, if the AI believes that you could possibly offend somebody, or that might not be tolerant, or it's not diverse or have enough equity or inclusion, you get it wrong. And that's programmed in. That is one of the main driving forces. Even your top tier, Microsoft, Apple, even their coders cannot write code that violates DEIB. The AI that constrains them when they're coding is the same code they're writing to constrain the student. So the problem is that there is no more free thought, free speech. You know, it goes beyond just, can you write a proper essay? That's the problem with it. You know, if it was just saying, hey, you know, you've got first, second, third person in this one paragraph, but it doesn't. So that's my problem with it, is that it goes far beyond just the grammar. The other thing is all these websites that just a full gamut, a full run. I would have to agree with Chair Thompson. There's just too much on him. I have no problem with like the fluency in fitness, the wants versus needs. I mean, the majority of this, I question the local newspaper. To begin with, this generation, newspaper's irrelevant. Anybody that, talk to the young people, they don't even watch TV. It's old and it's antiquated, any newspaper. We'd be better to get in their world and use their news sources to teach them from, so that they can make good judgment, instead of the other way around. The other thing is, anyways, that was I think there was a couple of books on here too. The Educated book, I'm sorry, that is complete. I've watched her since she left her home in southern Idaho and went through this big ordeal. It's basically the same as the Kite Runner. It's her perception and why she, is the expert now on how everything she was educated in is wrong, to the point of disowning her family. I see no value in that whatsoever. I know some people had a problem with some of the other, but I have no problem with the classics. I think those are good for discussion, and even things that would be controversial. I mean, you have to have controversy in order to have a good discussion sometimes. But those would be my only concerns, would be Educated, PBS website, the Coeur d'Alene Press, even as much as I love, what's her name? National Geographic, they've sort of went off the cliff too. Everybody has with the whole DEI thing. But those are that's the reason of my objection to all of this, is because it really is more than just helping the teacher grade. And I know that it would be good for them to have a tool to do things a little quicker, and in the hands of an adult, we can make our own mind in whether we want to keep that word or not, but a kid, they just sort of, it's wrong. You're not going to get a good grade, so change it, until we're conditioned enough to keep changing it. So that was my reasoning for that, but I don't really have any other issue with the other
that we added a B to the DEI.
Yeah, it's
I
a
just
new,
looked it up.
It's
It means
diversity,
belong.
equity,
Belonging,
inclusion,
yes.
and belonging.
yes, it belong, I never can remember the B.
I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, and I only know because it's new software coming to our developers, it's not letting them type certain words, even though the word is an industry standard, because it's intolerable. Nobody even sees what they're typing, nobody reads their code, you click the button. Yeah, it's,
Ask electricians why they can't use binary
oh,
anymore. They
yeah,
can't use the word binary,
yeah, it's.
which is where
it's
the word comes from.
overboard, yeah, this is overboard,
Yeah.
it's too much.
You're falling off the cliff. Right, so Trustee Grissom.
Mhm.
Oh, first, is there any further more discussion or conversation we want to have before I? Okay. Would you like to bring forward a motion?
Sure, so my motion would be, to approve the supplemental curriculum with the exclusion of, the two, sorry, my brain is so tired, the AI, the essay grader and, Grammarly, and,
I tried to highlight when
Educated.
you were talking.
yes, educated, there you go, sorry, I'm trying to scroll back through here to see what else I had.
Tried to highlight them in
PBS.
yellow.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Quarterly Press.
Yeah, PBS, Quarterly and Press,
I got
Um,
those.
even though there's a couple other that are questionable, I will give them the benefit of the doubt, they know that those are really the only ones I had issue
I
with.
think I captured all of
Yeah.
them highlighted in yellow.
Educated and, okay. All right, so I suppose your motion could be, to approve the supplemental curriculum list with the exclusion of the highlighted titles, as presented.
Yes,
If you look, scroll through the list, the old list style, there's highlighted titles. I will second the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Hey,
4 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries. Moving on to the novel sets and classroom libraries. Alright, so the request is that you want us to approve teachers creating a scanned list for their library books and sending home an opt-in, opt-out form giving permission for students to read the books included in the scanned list. Is that correct? Okay, and then
With
Go
the
ahead.
idea that, obviously if there is a book that we have denied, it's not allowed in the library, but, I've had, I don't know, 20 teachers send me their scan list, and we're talking about thousands of books, so this was a way for parents to be able to, if a parent opts out, then the kid's only accessing the book from the library, which is our Johnification process, so that way parents are just in the know, recognizing again that if we have a book that's been denied, it will be pulled from the classroom library as well as the general library, so that was a way that we can, with the new library bill, we're addressing the classroom libraries, parents are aware of it, but we're not overwhelming supplemental, cause I mean, it's thousands of books. So, and then they're opting into, I'm gonna allow my child to pull a book from this, I'm comfortable, otherwise they're just saying then you have to go to the general library, which is fine too, kids are still getting access to books, but it was our workaround instead of overwhelming the.
well, I would think that whatever procedural methods you came up with for addressing classroom libraries, that's all administrative. I don't necessarily know that the board needs to approve that. because we do have the policy with regard to library books, curriculum, etc. As long as the boundaries are within that.
This was just a way to be transparent about how
No.
we're addressing it.
Yeah, thank you.
And then to the second one is we definitely have books that are on that protected list. And so I did have a patron ask about the protected list. I created it way back when with the idea that we were protecting it specific to a grade. So when I was a principal, we would have, I can't even think of a book right now, but a 5th grade teacher that wanted to read it, and then maybe the 6th grade teacher wanted to read it in a 4th grade, and so then the kid got the same book 3 years in a row for instructional, for a literacy group. So it was our way of saying, okay, we met with the whole teams, brought the grade levels together and just said, okay, these are the designated books we're gonna read at each grade band so that we're not overlapping and, the kid has read the same exact book. So we call it protected because it's protected at a specific grade level. Not that the books themselves are, it's just that it's protected at that grade band. And if you wanted to read that book, if you were a 4th grade teacher and 5th grade had it on their list, you just have to talk to the 5th grade teachers to make sure it was okay.
So I'm just curious for clarification, is the protected book list that you created the same as the grandfathered book list?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it was all the books that we had novel sets for, so we have 24, 30, it's, the books that we have book sets for. And so my proposal, because we do have quite a few, we're talking probably 300, 400, I haven't done the total count. So we definitely want them to go through supplemental. These were books, some of those books we've read since 2012, some came on in 2018, but not all of them have come through since we started doing this process. And so my understanding is when we first started doing this process, I remember asking the previous superintendent, what do I do with this list? Because I created this list, I don't know, in 2020 or 2018 or something. And the idea was we're starting fresh, we're moving forward, so all of those books are automatic. We're not going to go back through that list. It sounds like that is the request, that we go back through that. So I am proposing that I can still bring those books back. But if either I inundate you, similar to this, what we did this month, and I have 100 books that not everybody can read those books, or I just slowly start doing that, and maybe we just say the number is I'll bring 15 books from that list. I'll start with high school and then move to middle school, or I can do middle school, high school, with the idea that you're giving kind of a temporary approval. We're still going to have the opt-in with parents. The other thing that's super important to Superintendent Arnold and myself is that if you're having a significant number of kids opt out, the quality of instruction is jeopardized at that point. And so I just pulled a random number. If you have more than 3 kids opting out of the book, we just choose something different because our job is we're instructing all kids, and so if you're having to try to figure out something different, that's problematic for the teacher, for the kids, for the students involved. So this was kind of a conditional approval process to start going through those books, because there was a request to have those books go through the supplemental, because they haven't. Some of them have. We've just slowly started going through that, but not all of them, and we have still quite a few. Kind of with that conditional, I'll bring those books, we'll still do our opt-in for parents, but the caveat would be that if we have more than 3 parents opting out, then we're looking at a different book. And that was kind of our way of getting through this, so that there's transparency with that protected list. Teachers know which books they're allowed to read, and they can, so because people are going back trying to look and find board meetings where it was this approved, and so this is just to be transparent with the process. We're bringing them all forward. I just have to do that sparingly because there's so many books.
Yeah.
So this was my suggestion to Superintendent Arnold, and so I wanted to bring it to you guys.
I would move to approve the request.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
4 in favor, 1 opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you. That will make my life, I know it's not about me, but it will make everybody's life a little bit easier, because I would overwhelm everybody with the amount.
Thank you for your
Well, I think
time and
that
commitment.
yeah, and if the parents are getting a full list, and it's, that's always been our thing, is just that the parents will be in control.
So that
Right.
they know what's
Right.
being presented to their
I
kids.
just want us
Yep.
to be transparent with
Yeah.
that list.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
Okay, then moving on to the assessment financial considerations, so,
So NWEA is an assessment tool, and if you look at the quote, it is specific to, we would only be asking, and we're not purchasing it, this money would come from the state specific to this digital program. So I think it's 30,000 or 40,000, I can't remember exactly. This is not out of general fund. This would be funded by the state. It is an assessment tool for us for 6th through 12th grade for ELA, which we don't have anything at this point. And then it would be 9 through 12 math, which they've been begging for something. And it's just an assessment tool. We would give it 3 times a year. There's reports attached to it. And so the only part that goes in front of kids is just the actual assessment tool. But I'm super happy with what we've done with elementary and just kind of our data days, but it's really hard to start that momentum with middle school when we don't have assessments that are calibrated. And so trying to start having those conversations about here's the standards, here's our benchmarks, and so the math test would allow that. And there are lots of districts that are using it. This is likely going to be one of the assessment tools that the state looks at for the new ISAT when they start rolling that out. That's kind of been the rumor, so it would be nice if we were already.
And this is the platform that the previous ISAT was. This is the tool that the state used for the previous ISAT prior to making
so
the
I'm
change.
curious, because there is no financial amount provided for NWEA, however, there is 40 to 44,000 for thinking maps.
So
Are those two
different things. So if you click on that proposal, and the clerk did list it at the bottom where it says NWEA, if you keep scrolling down.
Okay.
So I could do a 1 year, a 3 year, and I think a 5 year. So
Gotcha.
I included all of that quote. So that's for NWEA. Thinking Maps is not a program that goes in front of kids. It's literally a training for teachers on writing. And if you look for the last probably 10 years, that's what our teachers have been asking for. So Thinking Maps is, depending on if I do virtual, the days of training, there would be 1 day of training for teachers, 3 days of training for the administrators. There is a teacher guide. So that cost is for the training, for them to come and do the training with teachers and administrators, and then for the teachers to have an assistance guide, a teaching guide to go with it. So it is language and a graphic organizer. That's the part that would be in front of kids, but it's like we're not purchasing a program. It's literally teaching the teachers how to teach writing in a more systematic way.
So Amplify didn't provide that?
Amplify has tons of writing prompts and lots of opportunities for writing. It does not provide a lot of structure for writing. And that's what they're asking for, is how do I teach a topic sentence that then goes into a paragraph, that then goes into a 5-paragraph essay, and then depending on what type of genre you're writing, the structure piece. And I would tell you, I already didn't do a very good job, and so that's what they're asking for. So this was brought to me a couple of years ago, to be honest with you, but I wanted to see if Amplify had those pieces. And again, lots of opportunities, but it just has opportunities, so the teacher is having to figure out, well, how do I teach this in a systematic way? And so this allows us to have the same vocabulary, the same language, and it's just kind of, it's 4K5 to really hone in on how we teach writing.
Okay.
And then the last one, we looked at this. This is our algebra program and our geometry program that we're using in high school. And we looked at this program when we did the math adoption way back when. We held off because we were going forward with iReady and really wanted to see what iReady was doing. What we have learned from iReady, when you look at our ISAT scores in middle school, which is across the state, it's a problem. We are struggling we have 8th graders taking algebra, and we're struggling with that curriculum mapping from when they leave 5th grade. There's a big jump, and you have to combine 6th and 7th grade concepts and standards, and then 7th and 8th grade for our kids to be ready for Algebra 1. So this is the build-up. They have already done the curriculum mapping. It's our Algebra 1 book broken down for 6th grade into 7th grade, and it's only for our advanced kids. So, but our teachers, we met multiple times last year, tried to do the curriculum compacting, and we just don't have a program that has all the pieces. We're making holes. And so when we looked at this and we did a training, we had a presenter come in, they just felt like this for our advanced kids is the right way to go if we're having kids take algebra as freshmen or as 8th graders. So
iReady doesn't have an advanced track.
Yeah.
It just has the traditional.
And we looked at this before, but we held off because we were moving with iReady and just thought we're gonna see, we have this new program. We're still gonna use iReady for all the other grade levels, but we just feel like for that advanced track, we need to have more, it needs to be compacted so that the kids are ready for Algebra 1. When you look at the 11th grade ISAT math scores, we definitely are seeing deficits specific to algebra concepts. So we're missing the boat, we're creating holes with that, so we have to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, again, the first one, the state would pay for that. The second and the third, we have typically a curriculum budget, and so that would come out of the curriculum budget that's already been allotted, that we use every year.
On the first one for the NWEA, on the map, are they paying for year 1, year 2, and year 3, the state, or are they just paying year 1, or do we know?
Well, we submitted a request that they would pay for a 3-year, and I mean, we'll see what they say, but
Okay.
yeah.
So we don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
Okay.
But ideally, I didn't send them the 1-year quote, I sent them the 3-year quote. And I didn't do 5 years because at that point ISAT is supposed to be
Adjusted.
in the mix, and so I didn't want to, you know, and then somehow.
Commit for 5 years and waste 2.
Right, so I thought 3 was the smart way to go.
I would agree with you.
So.
Okay.
If the request from so the state is doing some of our technology money allocating it differently. It used to be we just got it, and now it's kind of more a grant process where we had to submit this, here's our quote, this is how we're using it. So we'll hear back from them. If we hear back from them and they say, no, we're not gonna fund the 3-year, we will come back to the board because the intention is to use technology dollars for it. And
Clarify, it's not technology funds, it's the digital content and
sorry.
curriculum. Sorry,
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
a big difference between those pot funds.
Yes.
And we should hear back, Jessica is projecting probably Monday or Tuesday, so I will be able to tell you by Thursday
Okay.
where we're at with that, so.
Does anybody have any questions or discussion points?
No, but thank you for all that work and for
Mhm.
finding the gaps and finding a solution and fill the gaps. That's awesome.
Yeah, the teachers have been great. We've met multiple times. I even had Shannon come to, I had multiple people looking at NWEA week. We've spent the last year trying to find a quality assessment, and then meeting with the math teachers. We met multiple times this year, but at the end of the year, really trying to map out what our pacing guides, just trying to be really data driven, like what is the data telling us, and we know that we're missing this. So I feel like this will help us immensely. And it would just be nice to have some data tool for middle school or for high school, because right now you have ISATs, so I can't even really bring data to you about what's happening because we don't have a tool for them. So, yeah.
Okay.
So we're addressing the advanced kids, but what are we doing with the kids that aren't in the advanced?
So what we talked about is we definitely have students, and our middle schools kind of attack this differently, and so we, again, had great conversation. So our plan moving forward is if we have struggling learners, we were supplanting some of our standards prior to this, and my question was, if we're supplanting all those standards, then how are they going to perform? And not that the ISAT is the end-all be-all, but I have a hard time putting a kid in front of a test when they have standards they haven't been exposed to. And so if we have a struggling learner, they're going to have iReady. It's going to be the presentational and the output will look a little bit different. So there's going to be more hands-on, there's going to be more whiteboard practice, there's just going to be more explanation time. We created a criteria is if we have kids who, in addition to that, need a double dose, we're going to give them a second class of math so we can hit all of those prerequisite deficits. with a targeted and not trying to blend those in 45 minutes. And then our on-level kids are getting, you know, and when I say on level, it's a wide range, so that it's not really, that's not really the true. But so we're really just designating if you're bound to be Algebra 1 as an 8th grader, then you're going to use the Big Ideas material. Everyone else is using iReady. And then if you are a struggling learner and need additional help, parents can request for that. We're going to give them a double dip of additional math support. So we're really hitting those remediation standards that maybe weren't, you know, they don't have them concretely enough to then apply them with a higher concept. So we are redoing what we've done the last couple of years. I feel like the whole team was on board, everybody's excited, and we redid pacing guides around that. And my plan next year is to really meet with them really frequently so that we're just checking in, how's it going, do we need to make adjustments? So.
Awesome, thank you for all that.
With regard to reading, one of the things that we did this year at Timberlake Middle School was there were Norma and I went up to Timberlake Middle School and we were there for a week, and we did fluency timings with every single 6th, 7th, and 8th grader, and looked for kids who were either reading fewer than 100 words in a minute or who were reading with less than 95% accuracy. And then we used the dyslexia screener with those kids that we identified, and then from the screener narrowed that down to which kids needed the diagnostic, where we really needed to go in depth, and then they provided interventions that were specific to the gaps that kids showed. We did that at Timberlake last year. We're going to do that this year at Lakeland Middle School to help them with some of the data that we've been doing at the elementary level for years. But so just kind of helping them get off the ground.
That's awesome.
With that too.
One of the other pieces that I will bring to you when we have our data discussion, and I kind of, in our data handbook, when we have that workshop, I did put in there kind of what my vision is for elementary and then for middle school, so you, or for secondary, so you guys can kind of see. But this year in the winter, there will be a new IRI pilot. And so I'll kind of bring that to you guys. I think it's beneficial for us to participate. We still have to do iStation because that's what the state is requiring, but they're going to open up pilot districts to do the new one, so we have the opportunity potentially to do it in the winter and then again in the spring. It would be nice because we get to have input for some of the kinks and all of that. Their plan, again, if everything goes well, is that we will have a new IRI moving forward for the 25-26 school year. So, but once I know more of that information, I'll let you guys know. But I might be potentially coming to you of like, can we participate in this pilot? Yeah, I think it's beneficial to give feedback.
Yeah, I think, I mean, not that other districts haven't, but I just know how much you guys have poured into really honing down on where the issue is and then trying to resolve the issue. And it would be so cool if we could be on the ground floor to pile all of the, you know.
And I got to participate in one of the groups specific at the state level, specific to the IRI. So I'm excited to see, we got to create kind of the RFP and their whole requirement. So I'm excited to see where we end at. But you're going to see in our data, I mean, we have so much success. Like, I'm super excited about all the work that our teams did. So, but this will be a new factor, so I'll bring that when we have more information.
Awesome. Yay. Yay, yay.
Any further discussion or conversation or comments, questions?
I have none.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. You're welcome. Moving on to board policy. We have a library challenge review form for obscene material, library challenge review form, instructional materials, request for review and reconsideration of instructional materials. The F1 and F2, the policy committee did not create, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I am a little concerned. The forms are quite harsh, the way they're written, at least in my opinion. I would like to table those 2 forms and bring them back to the committee to make them not quite so abrasive.
I guess I should clarify, we did bring them to policy, but it was kind of, we added a few pieces and went through it, so we did send it out for review.
Okay.
But just so the rest of the board is on the same page, this is specific to policy 2500 that was approved last month. And June 1st, there's a new library bill that went out, and so we were trying to have a challenge form specific to that law, because that is specific to a parent and obscene materials, but then also having a challenge form just because there's a book that you're not comfortable with. So we went back and forth about, should we have one form and would it be confusing? And so we delineated out that specific to the law, the obscene materials, we have one form, and then just a regular challenge, because we've always had that, we would be consistent with that. So the policy is not attached because it was just approved, but it's specific to 2500, just our library. But it's in response to the library bill.
Okay, so I would like to table those 2 forms. Instructional materials.
So the 2500 F2 and F1?
Correct.
So what's so harsh about it? I mean, nobody gave feedback.
We sent them out for survey. We did give feedback, and we did look at them in policy, but they weren't necessarily in conjunction with 2500 when we did it. So
gotcha.
It was
Okay.
yeah. So
So I guess they should be compared, and then we can add page numbers to the bottom.
Yeah, there's no footer
they're not
position.
formatted in our typical form.
Yeah.
But remember, these were the ones we were going to make fillable. So
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
so that's why the page number, some of those, because we're going to make them fillable forms.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out a way that we could actually improve these. So how much of this are we gonna change? Are we just talking admin kind of stuff? We're gonna reformat it, put a page footer on it?
Well,
Okay,
Or are we gonna
first
change
of
the
all,
language?
I guess, going through 2500 F1. Challenge form for school library, but yet we're addressing school library and classroom materials on this form. I think that's deceptive. It needs to be clearer.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Then it says, if you wish to challenge a book in the school library or classroom materials that you feel, I think that should be believes, not, this isn't about people's feelings. And then it's talking about a local school community's decision. We don't have that.
Oh yeah, the school community. Okay, gotcha.
Okay,
Never mind.
and then,
there's definitely some semantics.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Right.
and then we have an introduction, which we don't have an introduction on the policy.
Right.
We got part 1, part 2, that we don't need all that. I think we can just make it more just, here's the form, give us your information. I also, within
That's
the,
fine. I just was
it's
looking
that
to
type of
see
stuff.
if we could approve it and put the page numbers and go, but.
oh yeah.
All right.
So I mean, it's not changing context in the sense of what's there, I think is important. It's just making sure the language is correct. And then it says by a minor Lakeland School District student, we need to take minor out because it could be an adult student who obtained material violating this.
That language is specifically, that's straight from the statute, because if it's an adult student, then the parents don't have the right to come in and on their behalf once they turn 18.
It's true.
Okay.
So that language is specifically from the statute.
Okay. But again, the whole concept of feelings in there, I think, is just a buzzword that some people get frustrated with and don't appreciate. And again, over here on 2500 F2, do you not agree with the local school's decision? Well, that's not accurate. And then again, we have the whole introduction, and we don't have that on the policy. So it's just changing that type of perception. So if you want to approve them with an understanding that the formatted language is going
Well,
to
I
change.
think if that much is gonna, I mean, what does the board
Yeah.
feel, if that much is
I
gonna
agree,
change,
yeah.
I think we need
Yeah.
to come back.
All right.
Yeah, because you know how it goes, when you start changing that, then someone's
know.
gonna go, oh, well, what
What
about
about
da-da-da,
this
yeah.
or that? Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
if
gotcha.
it's that much, then they should just go back through the process.
Yeah.
So I'll second your motion to table.
Okay. F1 and F2.
Mm-hmm.
And just noting when we actually approve it, it will be a fillable form. That's what
Right.
we suggested to do.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. So that leaves us with 2520, 2520F. 2520 was the instructional materials. And I do believe we had legal counsel review this, correct? Yeah. Just to make sure, on page 1, this is just, I guess grammatical, but we have curricular materials adoption committees. On there, we only have one committee. So, we need to take that S off.
So legal counsel read this and approved it?
Yep.
So they rewrote the definition of curriculum as
No,
it's
that's
stated in statute?
Directly out of statute, that.
No,
definition.
that is not the definition of curricular. Curricular materials is defined as a textbook and instructional media, including software, audiovisual media, and internet resources, is what 33-118A says. As far as what it is,
That's what
the curricular materials, but they called it, the curriculum.
Well, curriculum are the standards. I had to learn this because my day curriculum was
Right.
taught with. Now curriculum is standards. It's not what you're using to teach with. That's curriculum
Right.
material.
And they do
Okay.
that by the standard, so okay, I see where they moved it to. Okay.
Yeah.
And we try not to change that.
Oh, and it's on page 2. So you might want to do a search and replace for committees and just have it be committee. Thank you. Because it's on page 2 as well. Okay.
I mean, even the curricular materials though is still incorrect. The statute does not say core instructional materials. That's not how it's defined. Who looked over this? What legal counsel looked over this?
Amy White.
And part of the reason why we did that is because we wanted, the policy is to be a reflection of our district.
Right.
And so to be all encompassing of everything, because it really bothers me that teachers are afraid to teach, and that they're all upset about whether or not a worksheet is supposed to be approved. And we've got history of usage of documents.
Mm-hmm.
So this policy took forever, seriously. But because we have curricular materials, supplemental materials,
Right.
and then learning materials. And initially when they described what learning materials were, it's like, well, that's actually supplemental. And supplemental is something you use for instructional purposes. But then we kind of broke it out to where learning materials aren't they're not curricular in the sense that they're part of the pacing guide to utilize with the student to make sure they're learning that concept or that topic or whatever's being taught. They're just, if you have a struggling student who can't quite grasp what is being taught from the
Right.
material, then the teacher can use a resource to say, read this, it'll help you learn better. So breaking it out that way so that, no one's tasked with reviewing worksheets,
Yeah.
etc. So that's,
We really just tried
We-
to
go
We
ahead.
tried to delineate, if you're using, okay, so our textbook is what, and we call it our core, and then supplemental is if you're supplanting your core, so
Yeah,
for
I get all
instance-
that. I understand what I got a clear picture of that. I understand why it was broken out and when it was done. My problem is that curricular materials is not as defined in the statute. But anyways, we can move on. I don't wanna go on a big, long discussion over it.
Well, do you want to modify the definition of curricular materials?
I don't like the policy at all, so I won't be voting to approve it. Yeah, it's not, we're writing a policy to circumvent the law. We're writing a policy that is circumventing the whole point of the parents' concern of the curriculum. So what is the point of any approval process if we can just take all this and put it over here and
And
say,
call
well,
it
that's not
this.
right, that's not what it is, it's this.
Okay.
The concern with the parents is that, just that, they don't know, that's what I heard, is that they don't know, what all this stuff is, so to speak, or whatever. And, the statute doesn't say that it's core instructional material. It says, if it is this, it is curriculum, or curricular materials. But,
Okay.
I think what we did earlier is gonna help a whole lot as far as snapshotting and give it to the parents and say, there you go, yes or no.
Right.
Instead of, but I do understand the whole worksheet thing. I don't know why we should, we shouldn't have to approve all that stuff, but.
Well,
So
just,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
When I spoke with Amy White, this language actually was in the model policy, and so when I asked her about it, she said that the language allows the board to identify what teachers can use that doesn't have to come for approval, and worksheets was one of those things, yeah. So that's the intent of this, is to outline for teachers so they know I can use this worksheet. I can actually go online and find a math worksheet that gives additional practice opportunities. I don't have to have it approved.
Right.
So that's the intention behind it.
I do number 4 has 2 periods in it. So Trustee Grissom, is there a way that we should be reapproaching our policy on instructional materials that you feel we should be revising? Because if we make those revisions, we can.
Yeah, well, there's plenty enough people to vote in favor of it, to pass it. It doesn't have to be on me. I'm just saying the few meetings I attended, that was the concern. I heard voice of the parents, or a parent in one case when I was there. And that actually was their comment. So we're writing a policy to circumvent the law, because that's what they kept hearing. And I understand the frustration, and it's just a bad spot for everybody to be in, but
Okay.
the curricular materials, that is not the language out of the statute.
All right, then, if we were to table this policy.
I don't wanna table it.
Okay, well, hear me out. If we were to table it and make it specific to curricular materials, and then address a new policy that addressed learning materials, or materials that are not part of the curricular materials, because I don't like the fact that we have teachers that are afraid to teach.
Yeah, I agree.
They should never be. I don't know how we got into that position. I don't know what pushed that there, but we're there, and it keeps being told to me over and over, and I just am literally flabbergasted. So I don't want any teacher to be in fear of teaching, because nobody's learning in that environment.
Mhm.
So what do? We are the board, we need to figure it out. We can't dump it back on the committee, and we can't just,
Well,
you
it
know,
sounds like they put a lot of time and effort into this,
there was.
and, you know, I mean, this is what was brought to us, so. And I'm only one voice, you know.
You are one voice, you do have valid points. I guess what I'm trying to bring out is, what could be the solution if it's not the language within this policy?
Well, really, what's happening is instead of the parent approving, the board's ending up approving. And even if the board approves, that doesn't mean that the parent approves. So that's why I said what we just did with taking the snapshot and sending it to, you know, because basically that's what's happening is the parent's saying, you know, do this, do this, do this. But, you know, I'm not the teacher in the classroom who, when somebody's struggling with something or something comes up, take 9/11 for instance, when the planes flew into the Twin Towers. I mean, yeah, everybody should have been, you know, they were all talking about it, so obviously, you know, like, you don't want to wait for board approval to, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When the whole thing is like, I feel like the board actually has been put in the middle of this thing between the teaching and the parents, really. And my only issue with this is that is not the correct definition of curricular materials. You know, but I mean,
So
I
would
know
you
the teachers,
would you feel better if the policy mimicked more closely the definition in statute of curricular materials?
Yeah, because it's a one-liner, very simple, that this is it, and you know, we've just made all these other things of it. You know, that would be my only thing. If you just change the definition of curricular materials, they're not core instruction materials. It just says instructional textbook and instructional media, including software, audio/visual media, and internet resources. That is the literal 33-118A is the literal definition of curricular materials.
Okay.
So I would move to approve the policy with the corrections stated by Trustee Grissom for curricular materials to be redefined as per state statute.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
And all,
What?
and all other parts as written will stay.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of committees going to committee. We have to take the S off. We have one committee. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Motion carries. Okay, now we have the form, request for review and consideration of instructional materials. This form needs a footer on it. So this is a form for parents to use if they believe that something that's being taught in the classroom is not appropriate or irrelevant or whatnot. Any thoughts, comments, or questions on the form?
Page numbers.
Yeah, I just told Maria we need footers on it. Is this another fillable? This is another online fillable, but we should also have a paper copy, so.
Oh, online fillable, so they're not PDF fillable?
Or PDF, I don't know, but they're.
It sends a PDF.
Oh, okay. I just wanna make sure we're not using Google Forms, cause you
No.
know it's not secure.
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have.
Move to approve form.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to the returning classified staff.
Move to approve.
I have a question though. I thought one of the paras at THS had retired. I thought that was part of the
Oh,
retirement
yeah,
thing.
this had already been made, and didn't get taken out, so
Okay.
yeah, that's just, things have changed.
Just need
Couple of-
updated.
So I'll just, that can just be omitted.
So are you amending? Did you move to approve?
Yeah.
Are you amending to take that out?
No,
No?
it'll be updated.
So you're moving to approve the updated version?
Yep.
Okay.
HR will take care of it.
Thank you.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second.
Oh, Bob already seconded.
Oh, Bob
I
seconded.
didn't hear you, sorry.
He did, it was rather
Okay.
quiet.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to the maximum capacity enrollment by grade level. So, because of declining enrollment in our ADA state funding decreasing, you want us to increase classroom sizes because of the open enrollment requirements.
So it's not necessarily increasing classroom sizes. When we set the open enrollment numbers last year, we set them very low because we were concerned about how many of our own kids were here and we didn't want to create large class sizes. Because our enrollment is declining, I'm just requesting that we be willing to bump that number up a little bit more, just by a couple, at the primary and at the secondary, still with the intention that we're not going to put our class sizes above
Our negotiated agreement.
right, and
Okay.
the stipend number.
Okay.
It just gives us a little bit more ability to, so if we had 20 kids in a classroom, and we said the maximum number was 22, we could take 2 more kids from out of district, is what I'm looking for, just to try to add some students.
But do these numbers go against what our policy says for classroom sizes?
Well, our ideal classroom sizes are yes, it is different, but we haven't necessarily, I guess, we try to stay as close to the 20 number as we can for K3. But we're just looking at ways to try to increase funding without drastically increasing class sizes.
Move to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. 3 in favor, 2 opposed. Motion carries.
Didn't we just redo that policy? It seems, yeah, we did last year. I think we just keep having the same discussion over and over, that the policy taken from IDAPA, it was simply like a recommended.
But for the open enrollment law, we have to set what our maximum number is going to be.
Right.
That closes the grade levels, and we have to do that every year annually.
Right, that's an administrative thing, that doesn't have anything to do with the board. I mean, the board didn't set and we keep having this conversation, this class size policy was taken from IDAPA, which is where we're trying to get to. But I mean, as far as admin, I mean, my thing is this is never before has admin come to the board and said, hey, we need to, you know, make these numbers higher or lower or whatever to get more enrollment to boost our numbers. I mean,
Right, but with the open enrollment
Yeah.
rules and laws and whatnot, we do have to approve that because it has to be posted so that everybody knows what we're going to allow.
That was
And
the,
we won't take.
the new law, this was our first year of running that, so it was.
Right, but
July.
so we're not talking about policy then?
Correct.
No.
Right, okay, it's in addition to the policy because those numbers are just
Right,
what we're trying to get, okay.
yeah. Moving on to the alternative authorization.
This is a continuation. They're usually a 3-year plan when we do alternative authorization, and so each year the board just, has to be in the board minutes, and the board, would approve that we would continue with that person's plan.
But this implies that this is his first year. It doesn't say it's his second year.
Yeah, it isn't. This isn't a second year authorization.
Oh, sorry.
This is a first
I
year.
thought this was, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
This
no.
was the other one.
Because he's restricted to just music and we need him to teach more.
So we have a teacher who's just seeking additional endorsements.
Move to approve.
You have a second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Can we go back to the classroom size?
Yes.
For the open enrollment, so how are we deciding, I'm just, in looking at these numbers, I mean, 26 and 28 is what I'm wondering, and thinking of behaviors that we have today in the schools, how are we, I'm just thinking that's a lot of kids when we have, you know, 65% population with some type of behavior. I mean, how are we, you know, what kind of thought process or what are we doing when we're saying, okay, you can take 26 kids and teach 26, or you can do 22 kindergarten through 3rd graders, or, I'm just concerned with those are such high
Well-
numbers. I don't know what the decision process is to.
But according to our policy, grades 4 through 5, the number of students should be 26. So we're not exceeding that. We are exceeding it on K1 and K1, K through 3, because those are 20, and we're bumping those up. And then middle school, it's 160 per teacher. So
On open enrollment, don't you guys get their behavior, and so they can deny if they have behavior problems, they could say, nope, can't come here.
Yeah, behavior and attendance are the 2 things that we can deny for. We have openings. And the 28, number, let me just double check my math, but, so the caseload for high school teachers is typically between 130 and 150. If you have 28 kids in every single classroom, you're at 140.
So it's dead center.
It's right in the middle.
Anything further, Trustee Russell?
No.
Alright. Moving on to student clubs, we have a request for a creative writing club.
Move to approve.
Second.
Third.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to the bond redemption notice. So the request is to make 2 bond payments to pay off the bond early. Sounds like a good idea. Especially if we have the funds for it. It's always a plus.
Sounds like a fantastic idea. I move to approve.
I'll second.
And
We
it-
have a motion and a,
And it's a resolution, so.
There is a form to sign if it is approved this evening.
But I
Yes.
think because it's a resolution, we have to do a roll call.
a roll call vote, yeah. Okay.
But we do need to put, page numbers on the bottom of it, or does it have page numbers?
It does not. Well, it has
Oh, I
1
see,
and
yeah.
2, so it does
It
does.
technically.
Yeah, okay.
But, all right. So we have a motion and a second, twice. Call for a roll call vote.
Chair Thompson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bain.
Yes.
Trustee Grissom.
Yes.
Trustee Quimby.
Yes.
And Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Thank you.
You are
Thank
welcome.
you.
Is that the document that you gave me earlier?
No, I have it on the printer, ready to go.
Now we have the surplus sale of temporary fencing.
Maybe we could use that for the buses.
I was gonna say, are we sure we wanna get rid of that?
Yeah.
Need to know where.
All right.
These are 6x10 panels that have a base on them. They're just movable panels that were used as temporary softball field fence. They were purchased in 2011, I believe. Brand
Not
new,
very
they're about
temporary.
$95. The quotes that we got we would be able to sell all 31 panels for about $1,500.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I like your idea.
They are
of
old.
Holding on to them.
Just an idea.
All right. Does anybody have any further discussion on the temporary panels? Surplus? The recommendation from the superintendent is to approve the sale of them.
And we've determined that they're not useful anywhere else.
They're not needed. this
At the
point.
moment.
Well, no, that's why they're temporary, because they're moved from project to
All
project.
right.
Can I sell the snowplows? 'Cause they haven't been moved or anything in over 10 years.
At
You're right.
48 bucks a panel, and you can't even go to Home Depot and buy a wooden panel for 48 bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Per our policy, this will go out to a sealed bid. So our minimum bid would be $1,500. Obviously, we could get more, we could get nobody. So,
Construction
Move to approve the
company.
surplus sale.
Hmm?
Move to approve the surplus sale.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Motion carries.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. First up is stipends. With possible action after it. Trustee Quimby, you asked that we discuss the stipends, that be
I
placed on
think
the
we should
agenda.
freeze all stipends within the district that aren't paid for by the state. So we can show the taxpayers that we're trying to save money.
I would agree with that. However, at this point, I don't think we can do that because we have already entered into an agreement with, all the staff, you know, the teachers and such, yeah.
But aren't stipends separate from
It's
the
a
LES?
negotiated agreement.
Not all
Some of them are, some of them
Some are,
aren't in the
right.
negotiated agreement.
Yeah, but then you run into like, okay, you guys get one because you have representation in the contract and to, it's sad for you guys. I mean, I agree with you, I think we should just get rid of all of them, to tell you the truth, that we don't get funding for, but, we can't do that right now. I don't see how we can do that, you know, we already agreed and entered in and.
Well, however, with respect to what you just said and what Trustee Quimby's trying to achieve. There are stipends that we're paying out that are not part of the negotiated agreement. So a compromise would be that we don't pay those, that we freeze, that we're not paying that. However, I don't know what stipends were part of the budget that got approved, because that was not very clear, in the sense of, here's the line item for stipends. So,
Well, then I say we request a list of all stipends in the negotiated agreement, outside of the negotiated agreement, every stipend that we pay for everything, and we look at them, and maybe we don't freeze those negotiated agreement ones, obviously, because they're part of the negotiated agreement, but we understand where we kind of sit with them for next year for the negotiated agreement before we go into the IBB negotiations. And we can have all of them in front of us all at the same time, instead of piecemealing. These come to us at this month, these come to us at this time of the year, and these come to us after the fact, or whatever.
Right.
I think seeing them all listed out, so we have a better understanding of where all these stipends.
Do you want just the ones that the district
All
is
of
paying?
it.
So you want to see
All of it, and this funding source.
So HR Director Brooke Cunningham let you know in the negotiated agreement, we did freeze at least the building stipends. They were $34,000. There's language in there on that, so it's a start, that's frozen. And so we're not paying those out this year. And so you'll see, again, we can put together that list.
Okay.
But yes, there has been some stipends that have been frozen.
Okay.
And you guys approved that.
All of the stipends related to athletics and extracurriculars are coming out of the levy funds. The APE funds are coming out of the levy funds because we don't receive direct pass-through for that for state.
So then they get reimbursed from the state?
No.
No.
The MABA, we get partial funding because it's part of the funding formula. So we don't get direct reimbursement for MABA stipends, but that is state funding.
And that's great conversation and saying that, but I want to see it in front of me. I want a full comprehensive list of every stipend we pay.
I just have a problem with somebody getting a stipend that has to go to a meeting once a month. Because we go to 5 and we don't get paid for nothing. It's kind of ridiculous.
5 meetings a month?
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
Oh.
You know,
There are
2 or 3.
Okay.
That's exaggerating, but
Trustee Bain?
Well, if you go to 2 board meetings and a strategic plan
Yeah.
and a long range
Budget.
plan or policy committee,
Yeah.
can pretty quickly add up.
Just
to
point of clarification, when
Mhm.
are you asking for a spreadsheet with names and then each stipend that each person gets, or are you just looking for APE stipends, we pay out this much, this is what we get from the state, this is what we pay from the general fund to cover that? How do you, I just wanna make sure what we bring.
I don't need names, I just want positions.
Like you guys have
This
leadership
third grade
stipend.
teacher gets this.
What's a leadership stipend? What is that?
We don't have leadership stipends anymore.
Building leadership? I've seen that on a list before.
Yeah,
Oh,
and you
building
did, that was
leadership.
from the building funds that you guys
Right.
froze.
So
Okay.
we do not have all stipends for this year yet. Would it be permissible to use the stipend spreadsheet that Director Cunningham prepared for you for last year and tell you the source of funding? Because they'll be similar, other than the building stipends that we froze, but it'll be similar. We don't have all those stipends because we don't know where sports are gonna land, those kind of things. And so I think, case in point to this conversation, if we use the spreadsheet that was already built and presented to the board, we can give you the funding source for each one of those, and then tell you what is frozen for this year based on the IPD agreement and what we anticipate will or will not go through.
With respect to sports that we don't know, what do you mean by that?
Just if there's an assistant coach, I mean, maybe I'm misspeaking on that, but if there's an assistant coach that we maybe don't need an assistant coach because we don't have all of the same students participating this year, and activity doesn't have as many students participating, we wouldn't pay out that stipend this year potentially.
Or we would have
Or we would have additional.
But
Yeah, we know what was paid out of the last fiscal year.
Yes, which is,
We're not looking at next year necessarily. next school year, I don't think. In order to get an accurate record, we'd have to look at the fiscal year that we just completed.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we can
Yeah.
create a list and show you the ones that you guys froze
Yes.
and that type of
But-
thing, and then what we're looking for this
Mhm.
year.
That's the proposal, is that I would use the existing list that we have updated through the end of the fiscal year, and just let you know what we anticipate to continue in FY '25 with the funding source and what we froze.
Yeah, I just don't want names.
Yeah,
The
no.
names don't matter. So.
Yeah.
It's the dollars that matter.
Of course, all staff matter.
Yes, it does.
I'm just saying that for this situation, the names don't matter.
Doesn't add to the
No.
decision process.
I'm more concerned about the position they hold and what they're being paid for.
Also, I'd like to see what exactly they have to do for that stipend, because,
So a narrative on each
yeah.
each
like,
stipend.
What do you do?
What
and
is it for?
Who's controlling it? Who's making sure they go to that meeting? Is there a roll call? Is there, is there any kind of documentation that they're going, they're doing it? Or are they just getting a check every month or whatever they get? I mean, there's gotta be some accountability for it too.
Well, I can tell you, for example, on our mentor stipends, they do the mentoring all year long, but they don't get the stipend until the end of the year. So,
If they don't do it, then they don't get it.
Right.
But that was just implemented this
This
last
year,
year.
yeah.
That was not something that's been ongoing. So
Yeah, the mentor stipends has been every June.
correct, but
The
the
account-
format.
Oh, the account,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
correct.
accountability
Gotcha.
just got put in
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
So yeah, for those narratives to include any kind of accountability that they're held to.
I mean, we have curriculum stipends, because you're doing what do you call it, a pilot for curriculum. So you go to a curriculum meeting and you get a stipend, that's part of your job.
We don't pay
Extra
curriculum
duties.
stipends.
I've seen it on there before though.
The only person we paid a curriculum stipend to was one person, it was because she helped me not for adoption, if you participate in the adoption.
Okay.
We haven't, I mean, since I've.
But I've seen, I ready stipend.
Yeah, that's
$500.
training, that's been for training.
Because they came in and
You get a
took the
stipend
training.
for training?
They had to come in,
Off contract.
That doesn't make any sense, that's part of your job. I don't understand.
Well, then the other thing you should probably.
What additional duties is assigned in their contracts?
You should probably look to, David, there, or maybe we look also is, the job description, because, you're saying it's part of their job, but what was the description they were given?
Mm-hmm.
Cause that's the other thing.
Almost every job description though, it says additional duties as assigned.
Yeah, where is
They
the
should
job
say that.
description?
On there, every job description in the district has that on there.
That's the last line of the job description.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is all those job descriptions that were on the website, a lot of them don't exist anymore. They were all removed at one point and then.
They're under my department.
Yeah, little by little,
Or you're saying have them all on there?
redo them, yeah. Because, I mean, I get what you're saying, but, to play the other side, I mean, maybe that wasn't the understanding,
I don't have a problem with the stipend that somebody's earning that stipend, like
Mhm.
sports, they're coaching a team or something. But I just wanna know what they're doing to earn that stipend.
Right, where's the accountability
Yeah.
piece, yeah. I get ya.
And
We.
I don't wanna misspeak, but at this point, the stipends outside of IBB, other than the ones that are funded by the state, have not been assigned to anybody. So if we bring that list to you in August, none of those have been assigned at this point.
Okay.
That's accurate, right?
Sounds good.
Any further discussion on the stipends? Nope. Dave?
No, good.
Okay. Moving on to the ballot language, draft ballot language for the supplemental levy.
CFO Grantham has been working with Holly Troxel to get that written, but we wanted just to bring the draft language to you to make sure that it is what you asked for when we spoke as far as how the dollars are allocated.
Looks fine to me.
What we're asking for in extracurricular activities and athletics, the $1,450,000, is that what we asked for before?
It's more than what we asked for before. What CFO Grantham did was she actually went through and looked at what does it cost us. So that's the dollar amount that it cost us last fiscal year.
So we're not making any reductions in extracurricular activities at all this next year?
That wasn't part of the discussion at the last meeting. We certainly, that's why we're bringing this to you.
For our budget, we did.
Okay.
There was based on what was spent last year. It was to hold the line and not overspend that line item.
Right.
This is just for this is for the levy for the follow. This would
Right.
be for the levy for the following year.
And the reason
Okay.
for that is when the previous CFO put the numbers in, that was before inflation and everything. So when Jessica gave the athletic budget to the schools, it was based on the dollar amount that was on the levy 2 years, or I guess it's only been a year ago. And so that's why we're having them hold the line, because that's all that we
don't have more funding.
that we promised.
Okay.
So that's why it's different. And if you want us to find areas in the athletics to cut so that we're not spending that much, we certainly.
I'm not looking to cut. I'm
Okay.
hearing that we are cutting.
Yes, that's just why, because we're trying to hold the line with what was promised to the voters, because we had other dollar amounts that were promised for other things,
Okay.
so.
So then we are scaling back in athletic spending.
This year.
Okay. Okay.
And the reason, just so that everybody remembers that the curriculum amount is lesser, is because we may be looking at a social studies adoption at the high school level, maybe middle school, high school, but not a full K-12 adoption, because we are struggling to find elementary materials that actually fit our standards and are appropriate. And then we're a couple of years out before we have to go out for to adopt ELA again. So when we get to the point where that's coming up again, because we'll be at that 6-year mark, then we're gonna have to look at that dollar amount. But that's why we cut back.
But yet we have recurring curriculum fees. Every curriculum license we pay for. I mean, that's still.
But we have a $200,000 line item that Dr. Pasley and I have access to for curriculum outside of curriculum adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And those reoccurring costs come out of that line item,
Right.
not the adoption.
This is in addition to what we're
Correct.
Based on what you're
funded for.
Right, we're looking at a 2-year levy, right? So the second year, we're looking at 500,000 as well. 2 years down the road, is that going to be sufficient, is the question?
Yes. We don't have, our math adoption was the first one that we went out and did, and we're in our second full year, so we have 4 more years with that adoption before we have to go out for adoption again.
All of the levy amounts did go up with the exception of curriculum and compensation for certified classified administrative staff. Looking at what we're currently spending on transportation, extracurricular activities, athletics, and safety and security needs, those all needed to be budgeted higher to meet current obligations.
So our extracurricular before was at 1.301,
Yes.
was what we had told the voters.
Yes.
The million for the curriculum, we had, let's see these side by side, 6.113 million for the staff. I'm trying to look at it next to each other. Oh, so we're even. Okay, so we are even lowering the staff amount also, staff funding by 100,000.
Yep.
Oh, because the safety needs, we're only at 341,000 and we're saying now we're gonna spend 570,000.
The dollar amount that was on the previous levy was not what it cost to run the program, so we put the full cost. And I do believe that CFO Grantham built in the opportunity to add an additional safety personnel into that dollar amount, should the board approve that.
And then we added quite a hefty amount to transportation.
That's because the true cost of transportation was $1 million more this year than what we received from the state.
We know why.
Gas is expensive.
Bus
Don't we double
purchases
route
or-
kids too?
Yeah,
Even though there's only 2 kids on the bus, we still double route.
Don't know.
I always see buses driving around with like 1 kid on it.
Well, that's because they're the last one off.
Or the first one
At some
on.
point in time,
I'm just
every
saying.
bus will have only 1 or 2 kids on it, because
That's
those are
true.
the last ones to get off.
I'll tell you, my children are often the
or
last
the
ones off
first
the
one's
bus.
on, yeah.
And they're the last ones
Yeah.
on in the morning and the last ones off at night.
Me too.
I
And
know
some
what
of
you're
those-
saying,
yeah,
Because
some of those we
we're
can't help though either. You know,
Stick-
some students we have to transport 1 or 2, send a bus to pick up 1 or 2.
We don't have to transport though, it's not required by law.
Other special ed kids we do.
Mhm.
Special
And
ed.
other kids, yeah, we have to, that's,
But we should have smaller buses too.
I don't know that we do.
We're supposed to have some, aren't we?
Yeah.
You see that limited number on a bus most often, when it's a handicapped bus.
Yeah.
So is there anything that we need to change on the draft ballot language?
No, I think
No,
it's
I
everything
think
we
it's
talked
good.
about.
Okay. I'd like to pause the video, take a quick break, for like maybe 5 minutes. Then we'll come back and finish the remaining 2 things and quickly go into executive session.
Do it.
Okay, so we're back. On the record, we took a break from 8:30 to 8:39. I apologize for not quoting time, and we said, take a break. We do need to go back and reflect on the bills list. It was brought out that it appeared a notary and a bond, notary bond,
Stamp and bond.
stamp and bond were purchased, and we need to clarify whether or not we should be purchasing a bond as is under the assumption that our ICRIP insurance covers that bond.
Correct.
But we are looking to see where we found that.
Notary for an individual,
Correct, within the district.
which requires a bond with it.
It does,
It
but what
does.
is that, what Randy's pointed out is that ICRIP is covering the bond. We shouldn't have to buy it individually.
I believe ICRIP does cover the bond.
Do they?
I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. We just need to look into it and double check,
Please.
so that we're not purchasing those.
Something we shouldn't need to purchase, which I know the bonds aren't that expensive.
Well, and it's already
Right.
been done for this
Right.
person, so. that was the other thing, is that it didn't say who it was for.
I'm assuming it would be, was it Maria's?
Don't know.
Did you
Is that-
just recently get yours, Maria?
It was March.
Oh, that would be quite late for a bond, because you have to submit that before.
The only one I could ever think of is maybe Jessica in transportation, because in here, in this office, it's me and Olivia and Maria, and all of our bonds are taken care of for the duration of our notary.
Mhm.
And then it could be Jessica's was up, I don't know, so you don't know whose notary that was? Is it on the list? Apparently so, if it was to me.
I'm not seeing it either.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. It's on one of those. I
I
read it
know
too.
it's in here.
It is, cause I read it also, I saw it, I thought, huh, okay, but I was focused on something else.
All right, well, we'll move on.
We'll just
because that's
make sure that
noted.
we double check with iCrimp and see if they cover those bonds.
Yeah.
I have it on my notes and I will bring that as follow-up.
Okay, next item up for discussion was the school handbooks, which they do look great. There is a couple of, under the Lakeland Board of Trustees, we have our board meetings on Tuesday and they're actually held on Wednesday, so that needs to be corrected. And I think that was the only thing that really stood out.
I have a couple of things on there. High school is 2 words. So it says Lakeland High School and Timberlake High School. Those are 2 words.
It corrects it back and forth, so I have to go throughout the whole doc, cause
Oh,
it's auto-corrected. Sometimes it puts them together, sometimes it puts them separate.
and then can we make sure that when there is a section and there's a title for a section, that the title is on the same page, like
Yeah.
add a space so that the title is with the section that it's titling? That happens a few times throughout.
Okay, I went through the whole doc and updated all the policies, so those are all updated. The only other piece we wanted to add was, the language for the service animal, once we have that completed, so that'll probably come to the board in August, as will this come back for approval. So I'll make sure I
Okay.
add that, but I just have a line for it because we haven't brought it to the board yet.
My other question, with the grading scale, is it the intent that if a student has a 90, that it is the teacher's discretion, or who decides if they have an A or a B? Or should it be 80 to 89 is
It's
a B?
90, yes.
So that's, it says 80 to
Okay.
90,
Yep,
so
okay. We'll fix that.
I could just see a
Yeah.
kiddo having an 80 and being real upset to have a C, or,
Mhm.
just.
And I am curious, on the language for determining valedictorian and whatnot. Cause I know that, it was brought to this board that Lakeland's revamping theirs, but are both schools doing the same thing now, so that it's
They
reflected?
will once, this graduating, or this freshman class graduates, so Timberlake already moved to 1 valedictorian, 1 salutatorian. Lakeland will move to that, so the incoming freshmen now will be 1 and 1, so they'll be on the same page, but, I think it was 2 board meetings ago, Mr. Hoffman talked about.
Right.
Yeah, so.
But should the difference between that be noted for the different class ranges? So that the incoming freshmen don't think that that's going to also, cause then we're just in the same boat 3 years down the road that we are now.
Graduating it.
Well, the biggest thing is I just wanted to make sure both schools are uniform.
out
Yeah.
for each branch of service.
Why were the cords underneath their
I don't
robes?
know. I just noticed it. It's not the
Did you?
same. It should be the same.
It should be,
And I just
for
thought
the
they
most
had
part.
nobody enlisted.
No, they didn't.
Oh, yeah, see, I didn't, because I didn't recognize.
Because I was like,
them.
why is there nobody in the military?
Yeah, I just thought there wasn't.
Yeah, it's their red, white, and blue cords for Lakeland, I don't know why,
Yeah.
we can ask why we don't do.
I already talked to Jimmy. He said he's gonna change it. So
Okay.
I didn't know if it's in here or not.
We can add it.
Yeah, I think whatever honor a student has earned should be put on display. I mean, that's,
Yeah, it's their final walk.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know. Good catch, Steve.
It was nice to be able to see that, because I always thank them for their service when they shake their hand.
Me as well. Except it wasn't there this year. All the previous years. Thank you for your service. Or for being willing to serve. Any further conversations about the student handbook? Again, thank you for making it uniform and
They say they've come a long way.
yeah, they have.
Sure.
And it looks great.
Yeah.
Keep striving for better
The
production.
consistency
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, moving on to work session dates. We need to pick a date for the curriculum and data and the SIP and the supervision and evaluation plan. The supervision and evaluation plan is about the IPLPs. That's for staff. However, we also need to put a date in there for when we're going to prepare the superintendent's evaluation. So if we can do that sooner rather than later, I think we'd be like making progress.
Moving it before the deadline, the day before
You
the
know,
deadline.
not so much
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
her evaluation, but we have to prepare it.
Yes.
And when we prepare it in January, it's kind of
Yeah.
a moot point. But we didn't do that this last year. We should put that on record. We were ahead of the game, but we could be more ahead of the game. So, suggestions.
Let me know.
All right. Well, we have a workshop or a work session next week, I
I won't
believe.
be here.
What?
I won't be here.
Well, we're letting you know.
You have to be here or be square.
We have
I'm out
technology,
of
you
town.
can zoom in.
Are you really?
Yep,
You what?
I'm out of town.
Well, okie dokie.
Have to go on vacation once in a while.
You went on vacation already.
Last year.
Multiple times.
Last year.
When was your anniversary?
My anniversary in June.
Well, you were not here on your anniversary.
My anniversary day.
Well, didn't you go on vacation with
No.
your beautiful bride? Take
To
her somewhere
Yellowstone.
special?
We went to
That's
Yellowstone.
somewhere
That was
special.
last year. It was in September of last year, October.
Okay, let's see.
Listen here, Miss Georgia, Tennessee, I don't know where you go.
Yeah, 3
Chicago, friggin' New York City.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
New York City.
Get her. I'm not going anywhere now.
Conference, you call it.
I do. I go to multiple conferences. I learn a lot. But, I do have a kid out there, so gotta stop and say hi
I can see them once in a while.
once in a while.
I'm just gone from the 16th to the 20th.
Okay. Fair enough. Where's that? There. We do the calendar there. There it is. Okay. So Dave, when are you gone?
The 16th through the 20th.
Just this month.
So can we go for the 24th?
Sure.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from today? curriculum and data. Can we do the SIP plan in the same? Or do we need
With
to do?
curriculum and data?
Mhm.
I think we could, because the data is gonna be important for the SIP, and I think we have our curriculum things dialed in enough now. There's not a lot of new information, but it's just kind of making sure everything is out and available, and if the public comes, we can answer questions about it, so I think we could. The SIP plan is due October 1st, but if we're gonna make any significant changes to the supervision evaluation plan, that has to be approved by the state board, or the State Department of Education. And it would be nice to have that approval before the principals and the teachers are back, so that everybody knows what that looks
And
like.
when are they back?
The end of August. So if we could do the supervision evaluation plan first, and then do
Oh.
the SIP in August, that still gives us 2 months to get it to the state, or 6 weeks.
Okay.
And Bob, you've mentioned that, you know, with our evaluations, they should be more like evaluative.
Something like that.
Yeah, it helps, or at least it should.
So have we landed on a date there?
Did we pick
July 24th for the
Okay.
supervision and evaluation plan, so 2 weeks from today.
With the curriculum and data afterwards.
Tuesday. Doesn't have to
Not
be
the
Not the same, not all on the same day. Those two can be together, the curriculum and the SIP, but the supervision and evaluation, we should
Separate.
separate them.
6 o'clock?
Yeah. And then when do we wanna do the,
Are you putting it on the calendar? Okay.
the curriculum and SIP 2 weeks after our regular board meeting in August, so the 28th? Or does that push it out too far?
No, I think if we had the work session, on the 28th, we could bring the final draft to the board at the September board meeting for approval, and then we could send it off.
Then
And
we
if-
wouldn't have to have a special meeting just to approve it?
Correct.
That'd be great.
Yes, and I think, we have that pretty well dialed in, so, okay, so August 28th, you said?
28?
2 weeks after our,
Yep, August 28th.
yeah.
Would be the SIP and
Yep.
curriculum data. And then we'll have curriculum in the district office for viewing from the end of August to the end of September for the public.
6 o'clock p.m.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry, what date was that? August 28th.
So the dates are taken care of.
And Randy was kind enough to consolidate 3 meetings into 2.
Good job.
Thanks. And ensure that we don't have to hold a special meeting to approve something.
Yes.
Dang! All right, moving on. Unless anybody has any further conversations on these dates. Okey-doke. Bob, you asked for the LEA president to be brought back up for discussion.
Yeah, and maybe it's an opportune time to have a little bit of discussion. Jason's not here this evening. I don't know if that's by design or because he usually shows up. But it doesn't really have so much to do with him, I think, as it has to do with the position itself.
Right.
And how that's coordinated and utilized by district administration and that sort of thing. We've kind of gone around the map here on how to deal with some of that. And I understand there's some concerns that some of the board has. But I do think it's important that we recognize the value and the importance of that position, particularly as it pertains to the cooperative relationship with the administration. superintendent offered a solution the last time around, which the board chose not to pursue. I don't know if you've had any further thoughts about that or not.
Well, I think in light of the conversation about stipends, I don't know that that would be the route to go, but I would like to see him have the ability to attend the meetings that he attends because of the work that he does on behalf of the district, not just the teachers. And so if it worked in Lakeland Middle School's schedule, that perhaps instead of one prep period that he has two, which we have done with some other positions, and that allows him to have one period out of his day to be able to meet with district administration, and then he also meets with the principals to talk about building concerns. So that would be my
So
ask.
that would be a good option. Yeah.
And that would be dependent on whether it fits, it works for the schedule for Lakeland Middle School. I'd have to check with the principal.
Whenever we have a principal.
Right, so we're working on that, so. I do really believe in the positive relationship, working relationship we have. That it helps with the culture and the climate within the district, which just creates a better work environment for everybody. And it allows us to be proactive in dealing with situations that arise instead of kind of holding everything close to the vest, and then we have this huge list of things that we have to deal with through IBB, which is what we used to do. So there's a benefit there for the district.
Being proactive as opposed to reactive
Correct, yeah.
after the fact when something explodes.
Yep. And we meet with the LEA representatives once a quarter and just kind of check in about how we think things are going, the direction that we are seeing the district go. And as a team, we've been really strong at problem solving, which has also been helpful in being preventative and proactive. So.
What are the LEA representatives?
Each building has 2 elected people that are their LEA building, they call them building reps.
Mhm.
And so those, the building reps meet with their building principals and regularly and talk about how things are going in the building. And if there are concerns that are being brought to the building reps, they will go and talk to the principals.
Do they receive stipends as well?
No.
Have they ever?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So they're doing work as well, on top of the president. Okay.
I just know we've been in a bad place before when we didn't have good working relationship with the association, and we've been really intentional in building that with the current leadership for LEA, and it definitely has made a difference for us as a district, and so.
I guess I just don't understand is the district asking the president to do things that's not part of his job as the president within that organization? Or is the president in that organization doing his job and now the district's paying him for doing his job? That's what it looks like to me. And that's where I really struggle, because if he's within an organization that collects dues from its people that they represents, I would think it would be up to that organization to pay him for his duties, if that's really what we're talking about. If we're not saying you're expected to do X, Y, Z, it's a hard sell for me to say, oh, sure, let's give him a financial pat on the back for doing what he was elected to do by his people. That just doesn't make sense to me, I guess. And while I respect that we have a collaborative relationship, if it's that money that's making it collaborative, then we don't have a collaborative relationship.
Right, yeah, I'm not talking about a stipend, I'm just looking at a period a day where I know we have the ability to meet with him. And I do ask that of him, that we meet regularly, we meet every week, just to check in and see how things are going.
So if you have a rep in every building, they should handle that building unless they need him. Right?
That's how it works.
So why does he get 2 periods?
Well, every teacher gets a prep period, right? So it's 1, I'm just asking
Okay.
for 1. And our schedules are so packed in the afternoons with meetings with community members in different groups that it is challenging for us to find time outside of the regular school day to meet with him. So to be able to have access to him during the school day is easier for us, basically. So I guess it's a little bit selfish on my part. It also for Jason to be able to meet with, or whomever the president is, because this isn't about the person, but more about the position, to be able to meet with principals, because he has done a good job of building the relationships with each of the principals. So he does meet with them regularly, checks in with them, makes sure that their building reps are actually meeting with the president or the principals, so that there's open communication there. Principals have a lot of meetings before and after school, IEP meetings, staff meetings, RTI meetings, MTSS meetings. So to have an opportunity during the day to hold those meetings is helpful. So.
You know, I think we got into the stipend thing a few years ago by some ulterior motivations. And I'm not suggesting that that's a good way to do that at all. But I do think it's important that we recognize and show that we recognize the importance and the value of that working relationship that Lisa has just described. And that one way to do that is to provide that extra period, to provide the time for those kind of meetings and discussions. I think that's important. I think we need to recognize too, I don't know if all of us have actually looked at the survey, the data that Lisa provided to us. If you haven't looked at that, you ought to, because there's some stuff in there that's not real pretty about this board. And part of that is based on the fact that I think the perception is that there's an intense working relationship between the board and the staff. Staff including the LEA have kind of lumped into that. But, you know, because not all staff are members.
Right.
What is it, about half?
Roughly, I think. I don't remember the numbers, but I think it's around half. But, you know, once again, having been in that position, I know how important it is to have a conducive and collaborative working relationship with people out in the field. And if you aren't willing to recognize and demonstrate that you recognize the value of that, the morale factor.
What did you do when you were superintendent to recognize the value in that position?
Say again?
What did you do when you were superintendent to recognize the value in the position of the LEA president?
Lisa was president. I think we had a good working relationship. We had a different kind of negotiations process, which was probably more adversarial.
Yeah.
And so consequently, that aspect of it probably wasn't as good as it is now in the district. In all honesty. But other than that, I think we met periodically. I say they because you and Patty were pretty close together at the time. I think
So what did you do to show the value of that relationship? Was there any compensation? Was
No,
there any extra
no,
periods?
There was never compensation.
Okay. I know where that came from. But what you're asking this board to do, I mean, if we give him an extra prep period, I mean, we are in a sense paying him because he's not teaching. He's doing LEA work on school district time. I just think that that's not appropriate.
Okay.
But that's my opinion.
Yeah, you're entitled to it.
Thank you. So, because the prior administration, now, what I saw a lot of was we just throw money at people to make them jump through the hoops we want them to jump through. I don't agree with
I don't
it.
condone it.
Yeah.
I think it led us into the situation that we are now.
Precisely.
And so it's kind of an issue of how do we get out of that gracefully without creating more tension and animosity.
Well,
That's just my read of it.
things got put into place without board approval. And it, it is what it is. We are where we are at, and, we're facing having to go to the public to ask for levy dollars again for salaries. And I think it's gonna be a hard sell when, money's going to things that the public has constantly been like, stop, but we're still doing it. So I think that if the president of the LEA any president of the LEA feels that the district should be compensating them for doing their work for the LEA, I just think that's a completely wrong perspective.
Well, and I don't necessarily disagree with it when you define it that narrowly.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm hearing and what I'm observing is that the kind of work that's being done is broader than just for the LEA. And I think that's, what Lisa has described in terms of the kind of meetings that they can have, the kind of discussions they can have, the kind of problem solving that they can periodically do. It benefits the entire school district, not just membership. And that's important to all of us, I think,
Mm-hmm.
if we can benefit the district as a whole. So that's.
I have a question. So it's called the LEA, right? And they pay dues. Where do those dues go to?
A small part of it goes to the actual local association, and then
Then it goes to the NEA?
IEA,
IEA.
Idaho. Idaho Education Association.
It doesn't go to the NEA?
It's the state branch of the NEA, it's the
Okay,
Idaho
yeah.
branch.
Yeah.
What gets me is like, I just don't understand to be part of a union and then you write the board a letter how disgusting it is down south and all the stuff that's coming out of there. And you're gonna support that. You're supporting crazy stuff, and that's my problem with it.
But yeah, to his credit, I think he identified that here locally, we don't buy into that.
I agree, but
He's a facilitator in helping not to buy into that.
Right, but we also are paying them money to facilitate their ideas, to push agendas that are pushed to the state level to pass laws.
No, we're not paying for that.
They don't have PACs and stuff like that.
Well, they do, but that, once again, that's individual member dues payment.
Right. But our dues are going to,
Out of their pocket, of their choice.
Right.
I've tried to to make a point of this because I think it's important to the long-range health of the district. If I didn't believe in that, I would never have pursued it as much as we have so far.
Oh, and I
The board
respect
is
that.
not-
I do.
The board is not, open to that, so be it, I can live with that. But, I think it needed to be laid on the table, so.
I mean,
Thank you.
every union I've seen, they get so many hours a week to do union business. And then, I think it was like 3 hours. You get 3 hours a week to do union business or whatever it is. 3 hours. I don't think that's terrible when you're still representing the people in the union or the association. But I don't know, every union's different, so it's hard to, but all the ones I've ever been in, our rep got 3 hours per week to go take care of stuff.
So we would be giving him 5, but
A little less.
less than 5 because it's,
I think they have
each period is 50 minutes.
But are they being given that through their union or are they given that through?
I think it was negotiated in the contract with the union, because
But what I'm asking is who's paying for that? Is it
well,
the
they just
union?
left work, they
And the
got-
union
they-
compensated them for doing that, is that correct?
I don't know, I'm not sure on
Okay.
that.
Fair enough.
I know the bigger unions, like when I was in the furniture union,
Mhm.
workers union, they paid their reps,
The union paid.
but they also got, they were huge.
Right,
So
right.
they were always gone and the union
Yeah.
paid for everything, so everyone's different.
Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to reevaluating this at the end of the year or come IBB negotiation or whatnot. I mean, to see how the working relationship ferrets out for this year. But I just,
I don't think the level of collaboration and cooperation is going to change. I mean, that's just how we
That's good to
interact with each other. For me, it just really is about time and having access at a time that works for me outside of the community meetings that were outside of
Yeah.
school day.
okay.
I would propose that we put an action item on for August
For the LEA president. Okay. Oh, now you're typing. That's so cool. Oh, here, I'm sorry, I've been playing with it. There you go. I fidget. Okay. Any further conversation we need to have on this?
No, I think we already voted on it once, but I guess that's our motto, we just keep voting.
Okay. We're moving on to ISBA, because Bob, you asked that be on the agenda.
I appreciate that it was there.
Okay. Are we gonna discuss it?
Are we gonna talk about ISBA?
Oh, now we're on to the next one, huh? Yeah, we had the letter, which I think was referenced at the last meeting when I kind of asked about this. And once again, the board can do what they want. I personally, and I stated it before, I feel hypocritical when you utilize what they have to offer, but you're not paying for any of it. That to me is unprofessional, I'm sorry. And I don't think it's appropriate. We do it, we get away with it. If you can do it in good conscience, I guess more power to you, but I just don't think that's right. On the other hand, I do think there are a lot of things that the association has to offer from a board professional standpoint in terms of the ability to go to the regional meetings, participate in the state convention. My time as superintendent, I always enjoyed and appreciated far more the ISBA convention than the IASA convention. I don't know how it is nowadays, but we usually got much better speakers and much more interaction between school districts and that sort of thing at the
think the policies that we have are from what we paid the $6,000 or $4,000 or whatever the additional add-on fee was to have for 2 or 3 years, because I believe we had it and then we just uploaded the documents the clerk did previously so that we could eventually have that information when we got to that policy. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe that's what occurred. So they were already paid for. What may not be current is any new legislation from the time that we accepted for last year. But I don't believe that it's that we're getting brand new current ISBA policies. We have the policies that we paid for before that we haven't gotten to yet. So you're more aware of where that's come from, because we did pay for them. We did. Which was a struggle, because initially we were told we wouldn't be paid for them. We didn't have to pay for them. It was part of our membership. And then lo and behold, no, we had to pay more money on top of the 68 or 9,000 I think we paid for our membership, which the membership was rather limited in what it actually provided, because anytime we went to a conference, anytime we went to anything they offered, we had to pay more money. So, yeah.
Everything costs.
Yes.
They didn't give us anything other than to say we were a member.
Right.
If you wanted policies, if you wanted training, if you wanted anything, we had to pay.
On top of that, I do believe the money that we do receive from the state actually funneled through them down to us. It didn't come straight to us, which is always kind of questionable to me. Because we're supposed to be reimbursed or given $6,600. It's in statute that the board's given that for training and advancement, and it always went to a membership with the ISBA. So I'm aware of other districts that are letting go of their membership with the ISBA, and they're trying to find something not quite so more in line with their philosophies of education. But I mean, if
Wow.
I mean,
One of the things that I actually respect the ISBA for is they've gone away from their membership with the national organization over philosophical issues. And I think once again that demonstrates the culture of Idaho, so to speak, and the culture that we try to impart, on behalf of our community at various times. And so, in doing that, I think they've said, and it was over that issue 2 or 3 years ago about the FBI checking on parents and all kinds of stuff. And NSBA sent a letter to the White House, that whole fiasco. So I do respect the ISBA for that. The other thing is the SBA and the Idaho Association of Cities are the 2 preeminent lobby groups in the state of Idaho on behalf of local government. And they do a lot of work. We get once again we get the benefit of that sometimes via the State Department saying us what's happening with legislation, voicing and so forth. But the ISBA is the group that really represents school districts across the state of Idaho when it comes to dealing with legislative issues. I don't know, Lisa, if that's still the case or not. It always has been. And so to be supportive of that effort, I think is important. And the way we do that is through membership.
okay, I hear what you're saying. Where would you like to go with having this topic on the agenda?
Well, I would like to see us renew our membership, but that's up to the board as a whole to make that decision.
So So are you asking for that to become an agenda item?
Yes.
Okay, you note that down, please.
So according to some of the last correspondence we got from them, you can buy their policy manual, the full inclusion, everything for $2,000. You can do a rewrite for $4,000 or a blended rewrite for $7,000 on top of your annual fee. And the only one I can find off the top of my head is from 2020. We were paying $9,788 a year, just the membership. And then we'd have to pay extra for, so bare minimum, I don't know how much the membership is now, but that's a bare minimum of the $12,000, say, just for the policy and the membership. And then
But
any,
you also got an insurance rebate through ICRIM, did you not?
no, you don't. We went through that. There was a, that turned out to not be the case. It was a line item that we never got. It was blank. I brought it up. It's back in one of the meeting notes. And we did not, even before, we didn't get anything for that. It was a blank line item that we never realized for some reason. I don't know why.
First year I was on the board, we received a rebate.
Yeah. That was one of the deciding factors, is that there was, I believe there was, no, and I forget what it was. It was on one of the papers they had supplied to us. Somebody had given us. Maybe it came from the old CFO.
Well, to my knowledge, ICRIM increased everyone's rate this last year, so if they increased all the rates, there wouldn't have been any rebate.
Yeah, I don't know, but insurance companies are doing wild things right now.
Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are.
After Coeur d'Alene Police
Big
Department
price.
just had their big
$12 million.
$12 million, we're probably looking at, that all goes through ICRIM, so. And we have the big, costs, everybody pays a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got that down for ISBA. Are we good to move on to the next item?
Yeah, just make sure that if we did get rebates, if we could have that information.
I
At our
have
next-
those, I have it on my
Cool,
list.
thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, Dave.
We have a student hearing date that we need to pick.
School's out.
For summer.
Ugh.
This. Is it,
These are the ones that were canceled. Is this for the ones that we
No, this
totally
is
separate?
expulsion. Yeah, double issue,
A new.
sort of, but not really.
Okay.
We can discuss it in the
Yes,
executive
yeah.
session.
is it possible, since we have
Okay.
this, I don't know if it's too late, the special or the work session next week to hold the
The 24th is the work session on the
Does that
24th.
give enough?
18th? That's what I'm wondering,
Does-
or the 24th
I
of
was gonna s-
July.
Does that give enough time for statutory obligations of notice?
No.
Okay, so then we cannot do it next week.
What about the 24th?
I'm down with that, that's fine.
Fine with me.
So we'll just add it to the 24th.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
So we're just piggybacking on what we're already here. We're just. Okay.
Correct. We'll do the student
First.
hearing first.
Still leaving it at 6.
Yes.
Okay.
You wanna get out of
Okay.
work early?
No, I've just been gone for a week and a half. I should probably actually be at work for a couple of days.
Okay, and then I asked for the City of Rathdrum MOU to be on here just to be updated, cause it has not been brought forward yet. And, you've mentioned to me in casual conversation that it's just sort of hung up with the attorney, but then you've also mentioned that you've been talking to Leon. Throughout this process, I have also heard that the city has already come in and blanketed our calendar for school needs, and you explained to me that they do that and then they come back and then they tell us what they don't need. I personally think that needs to stop. They should not have exclusive priority over everybody else. That's just ridiculous. We don't have an active MOU with them, and it seems to me that they're not very prompt on helping get all of that resolved. On top of the fact that it was brought to the attention that they've come in and said we have to remove all of our signs. Can you update us on that, please?
Yep, so we found that out today. We, Jessica and I met with Leon, the city administrator, and then also Emily, the city attorney, to go through and talk about the MOU. So previously, the MOU, I can't remember the exact date, but more than 20 years ago, Parks and Ratchet Park and Rec got priority for facility use for their teams, and we, at that point in time, they waived our permitting fees to add on to Lakeland High School. So once that was done, to your point, they have had all the benefit of that MOU and we've had none. And so when Jessica found the MOU and we realized that, and that nobody had done anything with it for so long, we met with Leon and let him know that if we were going to continue the MOU, that there needed to be more give and take. And so we offered some ideas. So one of the things that we asked that is on there is that the city continue to pay to irrigate and pay for the water on the land grant use, and yeah, Lakeland High School practice football field. There is a court case out of Lewiston at the Supreme Court level with regard to cities not charging themselves for watering city property. That's a misuse of funds. So there is a potential that, depending on how that comes out of the Supreme Court, that they'll have to actually charge themselves to water all of the parks and those things, which means that those costs are getting transferred to the taxpayers, obviously. So that is staying in there. They will have to put a meter on that property so that they can build themselves, basically, if that's what happens. So that's on there. We did ask for the ability to waive permitting fees. We paid $7,000 in permitting fees when we recited Lakeland Middle School. So if we get to the point where we're going to do, well, any of this big work on any of our city schools, we would be able to waive the parts of the permitting fees that aren't related directly to the work a person's doing, because the city has to pay for that work, so that would be a cost to us. But so if an inspector has to go out,
building inspection,
right? Yeah, we would make that payment, but we wouldn't make the big $7,000 payment. So that language is in there. They put in there that they will continue to employ and try to hire crossing guards because the majority of the crossing guards we have in town right now are actually employees of the city.
But we pay for them, correct?
When I said that, I just was remembering. I think I saw on the bills list that
We
they
pay for crossing guards.
So that will be new, that they will pay for that.
Okay.
That's in the MOU. What am I missing?
They'll keep billing us for them. They just basically said that if they're unable to hire it, there's no obligation for them to rehire the position. It would become the responsibility of the district to replace it.
So we're still paying for
Yes.
this, and then that's no.
So there's
and
no
then the
benefit.
SRO agreement was in there that if for some reason we don't have a separate agreement for the SRO, that they wouldn't bill us and we wouldn't pay it, essentially. There's no obligation there, so they're just outlining that one.
Did they still have, because one of the things we also talked about was, they are interested in working with us to, re-floor our elementary gyms, to put either wood floor or Twin Lakes type floor down and not carpet.
That's not in there, but that's a topic of discussion.
That was a topic that they
And
brought.
there was also discussion about not doing first right at all schools, just a handful of schools. So Lakeland High School and one of our elementary schools, I think Betty Keeper, they would not have first right at. They would only have a handful of schools that they would have first right at, so that it would be more equally fair for club teams and things that are Cat 2 to have use of space. They were very amenable to that caveat. And then they threw in the sign thing.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the signs, but the other thing that came up today that was just to have in the back of your mind, they will break ground on their new city hall in the spring and anticipate moving into it in 2 years. And so the city attorney said, we're wondering if the district would be interested in a land swap. And I was thinking, what land are you talking about? They would like the land that we talked about earlier, the rocky stuff behind Mountain View that we tried to sell and couldn't. They'd like to turn that into a park. So what they offered, and obviously the city council has to weigh in also, is that we swap, and they give us their current city council building.
City Hall building.
Or city hall building, and we would give them that land behind Mountain View.
A piece of property's worth way more than that.
I don't,
That's 7 acres.
But we tried to sell it and nobody
I'll buy it right now.
Yeah, I would say you'd have to get an appraisal and go, I mean.
you'd have to.
Anyway,
split the
they
subdivision.
brought it up.
Well, you
piece
do
of
due
property too.
diligence,
Um,
yeah.
They brought it up as a possibility, and so that was interesting information today, and as I learn more, I will bring it forward to you, and again, it was just a conversation.
There's
The
roof issues,
sign-
there's roof issues on that building. There's reasons they're they're moving out.
Okay,
Not just that the city is
yeah.
getting larger, but there's, yeah.
I will, if it comes up again, I will bring that information to you. The signs, so there's a city ordinance that says that businesses and organizations can have a sign on their own property, but they cannot have a sign on a different piece of property adjacent to like a roadway, or I don't know the exact language, but there's a city ordinance, so every one of the companies that has a sign just on the fence line on 41 is in violation of this city ordinance,
It's
including
ordinance.
this city, because they have a sign up there right now for Rathrum Days. So,
Can I stop you for just a second? When you said that facing Highway 41, is that the junior high fence?
both Lakeland High School and Lakeland Middle School.
Because those fences don't border the highway, over the high school.
Not the ones,
internal fences.
I'm talking about the one that's along Highway 41 on that runs the whole length of the front of Lakeland High School.
Mm-hmm.
We have fences, or we have signs on both
At the
sides.
intersection?
Yeah,
Oh.
The
like just
intersection-
as you come across the bridge right in front of you, there's
Yeah, but
800 signs.
but the Lakeland High School has been selling,
It's
the opportunity to businesses to do a sponsorship for the high school for their extracurricular programs. And, you know, they pay $500 or $1,000 and then they get to put their sign on the fence. So what we heard today was that that's a violation of the city ordinance, so there are two.
Which ordinance is
I
it?
can tell you, it's ordinance 611, adopted 9/28/22, specific to city code 15-10-9 off premises signs.
Title 6.
If you look up just 15-10.9 or off premise signs in their city code, it'll come up.
So,
I can read it too, I have it.
those businesses, so we had to go take the signs down today, and we will call all of those businesses.
Be sure to tell them why.
Oh, we will. And
We were given options.
And, so we will, and I talked to Jimmy today, so we can put their signs can be on our property. They just can't be outside the fence line facing so we could.
So you could put them inside the fence facing the road?
No,
but
no.
They can't be on the outside?
They could be inside the fence facing internally, and I don't understand the why behind that, but that's what we were told. We could put them on the baseball field fence line, there's still room.
That's internal.
Along that's internal, that's on our property. Or they could go to the city and request a conditional use permit, and if the city council grants it, then they can put their sign on the fence. So that's the issue with the signs.
Okay, so I wanna make sure I'm clear on this. We're talking about those banners that are mounted on the outside of the fence, right directly in front of the high school.
And the middle school, they each have some.
And are we talking about the signs along the fence of the football field over
Yes.
here? So those two instances, all the rest of them are not a problem.
Right, it's just the ones on the exterior fence line facing the highway.
Okay.
And the district can have like our registration sign up because it's our
own.
business sign. So we can have that up, that's not an issue.
It's the other businesses' signs.
Right.
So
That requires
so-
conditional use permit because
so-
it's an off-premise sign.
According to the ordinance, we are not in violation of the ordinance. The businesses who have signs on our fence are in conflict.
And when did this get passed? Or
In 2022?
2022?
And the city just brought it to our attention today.
Well, that's the thing, is that they've been doing it, so it's already, they didn't follow the law that they passed. It's already, you're already using it, it's just like an easement, been using it for so long. You can't stop people from using it.
Okay, so
7 years.
what they're saying is that in order to place those signs, there needs to be a conditional use permit by
Or
the
we face
businesses.
an internal.
And each business has to request that. We can't do it for them. Or we just.
But there are signs. That's where they're missing the point. I wouldn't, and to begin with, I wouldn't do anything yet.
Right.
Because then we're saying, okay, you're all right, we're all wrong. They've been there forever and a day. There are signs. We are advertising the people that support us. They're ours. I mean, are they gonna complain if we put up a Rathdrum Day sign? Or we say, vote for whomever? I mean, are they gonna complain about that? No. There are signs. I would push back on that. I wouldn't lay down that quickly.
Okay.
And that's just craziness.
I think we already have, because I believe the signs have already been taken down by our people.
Removed today.
I can put it back
Right,
up
but we
tonight.
can put them back up if that's what, but.
Well, I mean, if you
I'm
already-
just a rule follower, so I was
Yeah.
told that we were in violation of
Well,
city
here's the
ordinance.
thing.
Well, we're not though.
Yeah, here's the
The
thing though.
businesses are.
Right, that's why.
But we
we
also
we
aren't
own
going,
signs.
Money from the business
right,
to put the sign up, so.
right, so we
Right.
bought the signs from them,
We get their artwork and then we put up the banner for them.
right,
So, and they give us money to support our athletics and
Yeah, there's
extracurricular
gotta be a
activities.
different way. We have to have, there has to be
Maybe we
a
have to
different
have
way
our
around
logo
this.
on there, like at the very bottom corner, so it shows
We
that
could say proud sponsor of Lakeland Joint School District and put
Right.
their logo.
Something.
and then put their little advertisement below.
I mean, that would
Yeah.
probably,
there's always a workaround.
sure we can get legal involved and have so much fun, but.
Absolutely.
Well, it's
That's
just
legal.
that we've been, the thing
Me
is
too.
that it hurts the kids' program.
Exactly.
Right? It's not gonna hurt us or even the business or, but it's the, you know, they're supporting their kids in the community. I mean, that's my suggestion. I
I like the idea of adding something
Proud sponsor.
yeah,
for our district so that it's very clear that it's our sign.
yeah.
Not the business sign.
Yeah, it wasn't like the business came and said, hey, can I hang my sign on your fence?
What if
right?
we say Lakeland Joint School, or whatever school, thanks this business for their sponsorship of our,
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I think we just
Program.
changed the language on the sign.
Then it's not an off-premise sign technically, because we're just.
Cause now it's our sign.
so we're just
Yeah.
saying thank you
Right,
to our sponsors.
Perfect.
and if they wanna sponsor us, we'll put up a sign too, thanking them.
Otherwise, they need to get their Rathdrum Days sign.
Oh, we took
Oh
it
wait,
down.
that's the chamber. Oh.
No,
We
we
did
took
take
it
the
down.
sign down for the Rathdrum Days, because they acknowledged that they were also out of
And not only,
Ridiculous.
So, okay, we'll get that remedied.
so.
They're not being very supportive of the school district.
Well, not only the school district, I can't believe that they're so ignorant that they would offend that many businesses.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The whole community.
Yeah, they don't have a sterling reputation when it comes to dealing with business people anyway.
Right.
And they just pour gasoline on fire by doing that kind of
They
stuff.
did. I got calls from Junior Tackle and everybody.
Right.
Their planning and zoning committee must be new people.
I think it's their new attorney.
Well, planning and zoning that's 2022, that would've came from their committee. Whoever's on their committee came up with that idea, for whatever reason sparked it. And then, of course, the council voted, said, yep, okay, cool. But
So right now, does the city have our calendar blanketed?
They haven't submitted, they will submit
Oh,
their
that was the
request.
other thing. They were gonna get all of their requests in by a specific date early, which is not something that they've traditionally done, so that we can kind of see and fill gaps.
Yeah, but we should have priority. They do
We do
not
have priority. Our
I know
athletic
every school
programs.
though, not a handful of schools. Every school should have priority. Our clubs support our extracurricular activities. They would be cutting our throats. I mean, volleyball, baseball, softball, everything. And they still get to use our fields. They get to use the soccer fields. They get to use the baseball fields and whatever else they want to use when it's available. They don't get to tell us what we're gonna do.
Well, when the MOU comes, we can review that language and see if we agree with it.
Yep.
How it's specifically written. I just want to make sure as a directive that they are currently not on our books for this next school year until that MOU is in place. Cause I think it sets a bad precedent saying, we have this MOU, but you can still do whatever you want, and then eventually we'll get around to putting the right paper in place.
well, and so many years ago, it probably didn't matter much,
Right.
because how many people
Right.
were in the community and how much was
We
going
didn't-
on,
Yeah, we
Right.
didn't have club sports.
Right,
Not
so,
like we do.
but things have changed, the community's grown,
Right.
student population, so everything just needs to be updated,
Mhm. So the intention is to be able to bring the MOU to the August board meeting.
Okay, perfect.
So just to follow up on the signs, we are going to call those businesses tomorrow, and so we will just let them know that we're gonna tweak the signs so that they become our signs, and then we'll be able to put them back up.
Does anybody
it's-
have a Cricut? Maybe we could just put a sticker on there right now. Sorry, I mean, there's always a simple solution
Yes, so.
before we have to
Slap a
just.
lock on it.
Oh.
Yep. So, anyway, I will let them know that they'll go back up, and that we have a workaround, and I
Okay.
will.
Maybe we just create our own.
Yeah, at least we
banner
should-
that sits above
Yeah.
all of them that says, we thank our sponsors, and then it becomes,
Oh, there you go.
like, just
Is
have
there
that
one
run
big
across the
long
top,
runners?
yeah.
and then
Except
they're
there
all
is
listed below.
Our current MOU with the city has specific language that says the agreement shall be effective upon the execution of both parties. It shall continue until January 2nd, 2008, with an automatic renewal each successive year thereafter, unless either party gives the other written notice 30 days prior to the renewal date. So technically, we do have an enforced MOU with the city of Rancho.
Cause it just automatically renews.
Yes.
we
So
have
I
to
just
do-
would like to
Regardless,
make
I
that
don't think they should
clarification that we do
have to
have
link
an
it
MOU in place.
across our
Does
calendar
that
until the new
MOU
MOU is
have
in
a
place.
cancellation provision?
It does,
30
with
days.
30 days notice.
Yeah.
There you go. Bye, city.
Well, I think by the fact that we brought up the fact that we need a new MOU in place, that was our notice. I think that could be easily argued. So, they should not have free reign within our district and be doing stupid stuff that we
Nor
didn't
did a
have
previous
to.
board have the ability to encumber us as a board,
Right.
True,
so.
very true.
Boy, I haven't been saying that.
Okay. So anything else else on the Rathdrum MOU? We have no possible action items. Dates to remember, policy committee has been bumped up to 9 AM on Thursdays. Sorry. It's okay, just throwing it out there. Board member input for
I'm sorry, can you say that again? Policy committee,
meeting has been bumped up to 9 AM for the summer. Do we have any board member input for future agenda items? We did acquire some things throughout the meeting.
I will, starting in August, be bringing an update on levy activity so that you are aware of what we're doing. There will be an update.
That's good to know.
Should go to, there's a school district that passed,
Saw that.
they're building 2 new schools.
Sweet.
They
Maybe you
got,
should go down there and see what they did.
well, they got parents involved, which is what we're doing.
Well, that's good.
where are they at?
Salmon. Oh, salmon.
Same, but,
Yeah.
good pass.
They had years and years and years of not getting it passed, and parents kind of took up the mantle, and they were able to do it.
Good. Well, on that note, I need a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We need a roll call vote.
Chair Thompson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bain?
Yes.
Trustee Grissom?
Yes.
Trustee Quimby?
Yes.
And Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, on that note, thank you all for coming and staying.
I hope you feel better, and then.
Thank you. All right, so we've come out of executive session. There are no possible action items. So we'll go ahead and conclude tonight's meeting. It is 10:43. Good night.
With authority.